This is a Hot Pie Media original.
Welcome to Overcome with Justin Wren. I am so excited you're here for this episode. I am drinking right now out of my Walker Texas Ranger mug.
That's like a special one.
It's the first one.
First one.
Besides the one that Jared Padalecki, Walker Texas Ranger has.
No, that was the one, I think.
Yeah, well, he said him and I both got the first ones. So that's okay with me. And I'm very grateful because he's a good man. He helped me. First time I got to know him, I always love the relationships that I have found through purpose, passion, giving back, through at least my nonprofit Fight for the Forgotten is where I've met a lot of them. And we helped a young man named Wren. I might even include at the outro a video for at least YouTube where you can see some of the first episodes from my Instagram that we did for Wren. Wren was a young man, was very heavily bullied. And I just wanted to be the man that I needed when I was 12 years old because he was found writing, "I want to kill myself," on his forearm after he was jumped in the bathroom one day at the urinal and all the kids at school filmed it. And the next day at the bus stop. And so we got to do some incredible stuff, take him to LA, and Jared was one of the people that really stepped up. Raiden had watched Supernatural, which was, I don't know, they had like 20 seasons, and he's the main character, him and Jensen. And yeah, so Raiden lit up like crazy when Jared and Jensen both made him a video. And we've stayed in contact. Jared's not one of those guys that just does something one time. He like follows up, which is big, especially a guy with as big of a name as him, from Gilmore Girls to Supernatural to now Walker Texas Ranger, the lead actor. And on his birthday, he was FaceTiming us. He was FaceTiming me and my mom. And he came in here and was so generous with his time and his story. For me, he shared something that he hasn't shared on a podcast before. I won't ruin that, but he went deep. He shared very authentically. He's very vulnerable. And to me, that's strength, because for a guy that so seemingly has it all together on the outside to so many other people, the one that's in front of the lights, camera action, for him to open up and to share his struggle or what he likes to say, what he's dealing with, and how he overcomes, how he is an overcomer, and how And he didn't share it in those ways, but that's who I see him as. And he helps others overcome. He has a passion to help people that deal with depression, suicide, addiction, and to help them share, because that's what he learned to do for himself. I think as an actor, you might get used to pretending, right? You get paid to pretend for a living. That's the terminology he used. And so for him to decide to stop that, to live a real authentic life, that's big. So I'm excited as this intro is taken off. Amy, you had something for us?
Yeah, I have something it arrived at our house, right? So we want to talk about it. So you got this letter in this big box of honey from Hickory Tree Farm Apiaries. I guess that's what they call beehive places. Apiaries?
Maybe.
Somebody look that up. I'm supposed to look that up. So they wrote us this beautiful letter, and I'm going to read it, and we're going to talk about it.
Let's do it.
And then we had a whole bunch of these here, but now only have one. So we'll talk about that too. All right. So you got this letter from Nick and Nicole Kaminsky, and they have Hickory Tree Farm Apiaries.
I love them. They've always sent me the most encouraging stuff on Instagram.
So you've had a relationship with them for a long time?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, they've always left comments, and we've shared messages back and forth, like just encouraging each other, or them normally always encouraging me and me saying thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
So you hadn't tried their honey before?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, they wrote, "Sorry it took us so long to mail you some honey, but I wanted to include some extra special honey for you to share. The 6-ounce jars with the dark honey is, in my opinion, the best stuff out there. It is a fall wildflower blend with mostly goldenrod honey in it. The other 6-ounce jars are filled with honey and a section of comb and honey to enjoy. Comb honey, as you may or may not know, can be eaten as is or spread out on bread, eat the wax, or spit it out like chewed gum. We recommend that the chunk honey with the comb in it be kept in the freezer till it's to be eaten. This keeps it from crystallizing. All the honey in this box is raw, non-pasteurized, and will crystallize. It will never go bad or spoil, and even makes an effective wound dressing and antibacterial ointment."
Wow.
What?
I didn't know that.
I know, isn't that cool? Also included are some skincare and beard products that we make and use on the daily, as well as some of our beeswax food wraps, a plastic 100% biodegradable and reusable food storage wrap, and our cup wraps for covering your favorite beverage and keeping stuff out of it. All residues from wax wraps come off in the dishwasher. Instructions for care are on the back label. Lastly, we have had a long road to travel from 12 years in the Marines to the last 7 as a beekeeper. This last winter, we lost nearly every hive we had because of a pesticide hit in Arizona.
Wow.
We went from 40 strong colonies to 8. Feeling defeated and seeing the hives that I rescued from people's walls, queens that I bred, all dead or dying, crawling on the ground, it was an attractive idea to just give up. I was not to be defeated. I shed tears for my losses and looked only to better myself. After this crushing winter loss, I am happy to say that we're blessed now with close to 110 strong, healthy honeybee colonies.
Wow.
I know.
That's great.
When we receive a blessing, there's joy and relief. But without someone to share that blessing with, one can only receive a fraction of the joy and love. So we're honored to gift you and your friends with this honey, and we're honored to support Fight for the Forgotten with 10% of all sales from Hickory Tree Farm Apiaries LLC.
Awesome.
Only light and love can drive out darkness and evil. I have chills. It makes me cry. Sincerely, Nick and Nicole Kaminsky. And so I went to their website. If Colton, if you can pull this up.
Nick and
Look
Nicole.
at this,
That's
Justin.
a great name for a couple.
Look, can you see
Hickory
their
Tree Farms,
website
yeah,
on your
right there.
monitor?
Mm-hmm.
Look at this. If you scroll down, they talk about their farm. It's in Michigan. And then look, they
have a page about Fight for the Forgotten.
Yes. Like a whole, when you scroll down, all about Fight for the Forgotten.
That's incredible.
And like the nicest words about you and all the work that Fight for the Forgotten does. Yeah. Wow. And I mean, and look
at
they've
him,
got
my
their
bearded brother.
I know, look at him. I love
my brother
it.
from another mother. Thank you so much, Nick.
The bald version of you, honey.
Yeah.
And
Kent City, Michigan.
I brought, like, because we were going to talk about it, but we just got to it this episode. So I brought the box of all the honey and we were like going to give it to guests or whatever. I just asked Natalie about it and she was like, fun. We devoured it.
Well, it's because it's that good. I haven't tried this darker honey yet.
We have the dark one left. We have a big jar at home.
Right. But the one with the honeycomb in it, that has been incredible. So good. It was so good. But I think if I'm getting the numbers right, what you said was he had 40 hives and they went all the way down to 8.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
That's brutal. And then they're at 110 now?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's almost 3x what they were in the beginning. They've come back stronger from the brink of defeat. That is overcoming. That's what this podcast is about.
It is
when you face these hard challenges, sometimes the obstacle's the way. You're going to take some licks. You're going to get knocked down to the canvas. And like, you have a choice. Am I going to get back up or am I going to stay there? Am I just going to, crawl into a ball? And sometimes we do that and we need some time to take some rest, but will I rise again? And that is what Nick in Kent City, Michigan has done with Hickory Tree Farms. And that is so encouraging to me, man, to do that, to come back from that huge obstacle, almost insurmountable odds, a heartbreak.
It's a real loss because those are living creatures that you care about, and I mean,
you're tending to them. That's like someone with their cattle or their chickens.
Yeah, for sure.
Or even
it's like everything. It's living and it's like your livelihood, and
they're so crucial to the environment. And how I can relate this to Fight for the Forgotten is pygmies are the pygmy people, whether it's the Mabuti pygmies that I lived with for a year, the Efe pygmies that named me Efeosa, the Batwa that are in Uganda that we're working with right now in building the homes. I have always had a mission or like a vision. I would say a vision, and maybe there's a mission coming soon where we help them get honey, because honey is a delicacy a prized delicacy that they will risk their lives for. Wow. I'm not kidding.
I believe it.
It's the African bees. So those are killer bees.
That's what I've always heard.
And they climb up these trees with either just a vine wrapped around it, and they'll start a small fire at the bottom and they try to get the smoke out that way. Sometimes the smoke doesn't even get up to where the hive is. They risk their lives to get this. They reach their bare hands in and they lower down in a basket, a leaf woven basket. they drop those hives of those honeycombs in chunks down there. But when those men, those hunters, those gatherers come back with baskets full of honey.
Oh, it's a party. It's a honey
Oh my God.
party.
It is a honey party. Like their honeys literally celebrate them. Yeah. That's how those women look at them. Like, honey, you bring me this sweet goodness back. No, it's incredible. And they risk their lives to get stung all over their bodies for it.
Oh my
Other
gosh.
people, other tribes think they're crazy. Like their neighbors are like, how do they do that? Those things kill you. And they just go through it. They overcome to be those heroes coming back with the honey.
Oh,
And what's so funny is I remember one time there's Bajanji, and Bajanji is one of the oldest and smallest of the pygmy men I've ever met. And their average height for the men is 4'7". Bajanji's super small. And he's a bit pudgy for an older man. And he would always walk, no joke, with a stick, and he would tie kind of like a handkerchief or a cloth around the end of the stick. And he would have a little pep in his step as an older man. And he kind of reminded me of Pooh Bear just a little bit, right? And he loved honey. That's when I made the connection was whenever he had all this honey. And those people that I love, my family, Bajanji, Leome, Papalando, Sangule, Jippy, like these, they would cover them. Like they would have honey on their faces and on their bellies and on their hands because they didn't save it, right? I guess they might not know that it lasts forever. It won't go bad. It'll crystallize. You can use it. But they just demolish it. So to have a supporter and a donor fight for the forgotten, that's giving 10% back. That's similar to joining our fight club, our monthly giving club.
Yep. And they were, it's veteran owned too, which is really cool. And you can even support them and donate them. They have their store up. And I just want to shout out this hand balm, which you haven't even touched.
I haven't, but I've seen you use it once.
I carry it in my bag now and I can't stop using it. It's my favorite thing.
Can I use it once?
So yeah, the Be Happy hand balm in the eucalyptus mint is A+.
Wow.
A+. So yeah, Hickory Tree Farm apiaries. This is badass.
Hey, thank you for reading that to me. And
yeah, babe. I mean, it's like such a beautiful surprise.
Yeah, it is. It's such a gift.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what this community, Overcome, this podcast, this is what it's all about, is sharing real life stories, whether it's a Jared Padalecki who's coming up shortly on this episode, or that's had, the rise to fame, or if it's a veteran. Well,
one of the things Jared said in the interview too was about coming together and like how it gives us this common purpose.
Yeah.
Like you were saying about Raiden too, and how y'all brought together through purpose.
We were. And Nick and Nikki, thank you so much for choosing Fight for the Forgotten. Thank you for donating your passion, your purpose to us. Thank you for giving us the sweet, sweet honey that Hot Pie Studios, where this podcast is hosted, has already demolished and taken.
Apparently we need more.
Apparently we need more. And I will save those for the guest to get those in their hands and to tell them thank you and to let them know for their honey needs.
Yeah.
They can come straight to you.
So beautiful.
And it's supporting Fight for the Forgotten. So I'm glad we could talk about it on the show.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some cool stuff. Doug does art at Doug Does Art with the Mike Tyson.
I have a feeling this is just the beginning. I mean, yeah.
Wow. Well, I love hearing stories like these.
Me too.
And stay tuned because Jared Padalecki shares a very encouraging story. And we also talk about lady boners. Bearded
spoiler
lady
alert.
Boners. Yeah, spoiler alert.
Get your lady boner on. I already did 8 times.
Awesome. Well, I hope this is a blessing to anyone that hears it. We do talk about some things. We have a lot of fun in the episode, and there's a lot of positivity, and it is hope filled. But there's some heavy stuff too, and I know that someone needs to hear this. So if you're listening now, please stay tuned. And if you like this episode, like, share, rate, review, subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts, and that will help the show. We greatly appreciate it.
And stick around to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're doing something special at the end here. Well, I appreciate you being here. I found out something new about you, Jared.
You okay? Should I be nervous?
Well, I don't think you should be nervous. Actually, I sent Amy some of it, and she was She was like, yeah, it makes sense. But do you ever get on Reddit? I do for MMA every day. And there was a new subreddit. I get on MMA. I get on positive ones.
Reddit is like X and subreddit is like triple X. I have legitimately, honest God, probably less than 10 times, but I've clicked on links before. Yeah.
Well, I've been on Reddit basically every day for MMA news, and there's fighters that are on it. We used to have something called the Underground, like Joe Rogan was on it, Dana was on it.
On Reddit?
No, it was on something called the Underground before Reddit.
Oh, I see.
And we were on a forum with threads, and we'd start conversation with kind of like the underground insider stuff for MMA. That's how I kind of got to know Joe, and he got to know me. Then I got on the podcast, all that, and but anyways, when Reddit started, it just took off, and it took all the MMA fans there. And then all the other ones are normally negative, but I do follow some positive ones like Reddit subreddit Aw. It's just called Aw. Another one that's called Humans Being Bros. Made me smile. So try to get the positive ones, right?
I like
People
that,
are
man.
awesome.
I think the
next fucking level.
The majority of shit that I see, I don't know where you're going with this, but the majority of links that I've clicked on have been like nude pictures of me that aren't me, but are thank God some ripped dude with my face.
Well, you're still a ripped dude.
I'm not a ripped.
And I think you're one of the most popular. You and Jason Momoa on Reddit.
I love Momo, man.
Yeah,
he's a
lady boners. Lady boners is the subreddit I found out about
no,
today.
It's a great
Don't you have
subreddit.
I see.
It's pulled up right now.
Up there?
Colton, if you want to pull that up.
Justin found out about it.
I just found out about it today. I've been on Reddit for 10 years.
He didn't co-found it. He insists that I
didn't post all the pictures of you on there to get you on this podcast.
Momo's a buddy, man.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I don't know
he seems like a badass dude.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, hatchet thrower. He trains MMA some out in Australia.
He's a beast, man. Yeah, he's a good guy. I've known him for years because he was shooting something Galactica. Battlestar
Galactica.
Is that it?
Was he in that?
He was shooting. No, he wasn't.
Aquaman wears shirts off.
Let me look. Let me take a look.
Game of Thrones.
He was shooting something. Yes, exactly. He was shooting something in Canada, and he and Joe Flanagan. So we shot Supernatural in Canada, and right when we started, like 2005, 2006, they either lived near us or. Long story short, like you kind of, you know what it is, like you kind of just end up meeting people that are kind of in a similar industry. And so the Vancouver filming industry at that time in 2005 was
Stargate Atlantis.
That's it. Yes. And so he and Joe Flanagan were shooting that. And so you would just run into each other and go out, and he and I became buddies. And
that's awesome.
And then I think like 8 years ago at Comic-Con, my birthday's in July, like we were talking about, and Comic-Con San Diego usually happens in July. And so it was my birthday, and I don't know, whatever, like I think once you're past 12 years old, you probably shouldn't really worry about celebrating your birthday, but he had somebody bring out a cake. And so he brought it out to me, and they all sang happy birthday and stuff.
Was he inside the cake?
He was. It was a giant cake. It was a giant
lady boner.
Fucking ripped cake. I had my own lady boner at the time, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I saw on that subreddit of you was you and Jensen, and you guys were like having these like goofy fun smiles. Looked like y'all really playful together.
Legit. Yeah. I think you were going to say naked.
No, not naked. No.
That's the other subreddit.
I saw no nudity on lady boners.
I'm not judging, man. I'm just inquiring.
There was one of you with I don't know if you were doing like one of the farmer walks or farmer camps.
Okay, that's legit. Yeah, that's legit.
I pulled it up. Yeah, that's that's you.
There you are.
Yeah, that's you, right? Yeah, that's me.
That doesn't look Photoshopped. That's just ripped up.
Well, that was me pre-COVID before I lost. I'm not kidding. I just got over. Justin knows, but
I'm glad you're all right.
Yeah, I am all right. I'm still. Legitimately, I still feel it, and I'm vaccinated. I probably lost like 10 pounds in the last 3 weeks because you can't walk upstairs, or I can't. You know, everybody has different reaction. But if I walk up the stairs, I kind of sit there for a second. And go like, I do, man. It's weird, and brain fog, and I'll start a sentence, and my first test was Friday the 13th, appropriately. Like bad news on Friday the 13th. It was my first positive test, me and my kids. My wife had tested positive the Saturday and Sunday before.
Yep. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
You want to take care of the kids.
Yeah. And so we, kind of a double-edged sword. We just buckled down to the house, and we're like, all right, well, let's not have anybody around. Let's just hang out with the kids and jump in the pool or, play basketball or soccer, whatever. But I don't know where I was going with it, but that's what happened. Like I feel like
you just shredded the weight that you probably worked.
I didn't shred any good weight. Like I wasn't losing body fat. You know what I mean?
You're losing
like,
the muscle.
Yeah. Cause I can't do a pull up without getting winded.
Yeah. When I had malaria, I lost 33 pounds in 5
You've had it
days.
several times though.
Yeah. I've had it 3 times. And I was actually just telling Amy the story, was that yesterday or 2 days ago, where when I had cerebral malaria, so when I lost 33 pounds in 5 days, I lost a lot of muscle.
5 days?
5 days. 5 days. I had something called black water fever, which meant I couldn't urinate for 5 full days. And when I did, there was
still lost
black as a
33 pounds.
Yeah.
When you couldn't urinate. Excreting.
I was vomiting on the other side too, but it was my vomit became red and green. It was blood and bile.
Oh my God.
And then, but when I had cerebral malaria, I worked really hard. I grew up getting pretty heavily bullied or very heavily bullied.
Yeah.
That's how we connected through Raiden.
Yeah.
But I had a speech therapist from kindergarten to 6th grade.
Yeah.
When I had cerebral malaria, which is parasites in the brain also, as well as the bloodstream.
That's terrifying.
My stutter came back, and I hadn't had that since I was in middle school.
Wow.
And so whenever I had COVID, and then a couple times after that, it'd be whenever I get really depleted, like after sparring, but not even taking a headshot, right? Just after sparring, really tired.
Yeah.
Very poor rest. Maybe I'm sick too. All of a sudden, then the stutter would start coming back.
No shit.
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
But
did you take like Malarone ever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Malarone's better than what I was taking. I was taking called Mefloquine.
Okay. I recall that.
Yeah. Mefloquine's the once a week. And it was developed, I think, out of Sweden or Switzerland. Okay. And our military used it. But they've wrongly diagnosed, according to the Military Times, over 100,000 of our soldiers with PTSD. They didn't have PTSD. They never saw action. They were never they were deployed, but they never were in battle. And so they were wondering why these guys were getting PTSD. Well, it was the medications. Mefloquine was giving people brain toxicity. It was called mefloquine toxicity of the brain. So basically for my malaria, I had to poison the parasite in my brain, to kill the parasite in my brain. Yeah. Jesus. So it was really rough. I had to go through. So you're only supposed to take 1 a week, right?
Yeah.
So then they were giving me these pills, 2 in the morning, 2 at lunch, and then 2 at night. I'm taking 6 in a day. Now I did that for at least 5 full days. That's 30
pills.
And guys that were in the military were getting that wrongly diagnosed with PTSD. It was actually mefloquine toxicity when they only took it for like 6 months, 9 months, and they were doing it just once a week, never had malaria. So now all of a sudden I get, I'm taking like a 6 month, 9 month supply in 5 days.
Yeah. The reason I ask, and I don't recall whether it was, the name I remember is Malarone.
Malarone's really good.
Okay. Malarone's really good, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think
the dreams
yes.
Crazy psychotic dreams.
My wife and I went our honeymoon in I remember this, baby. I promise. Give me a second of that. 2010, we got married. So May of 2010, we had like a 2-part honeymoon, and we went and we hiked the Inca Trail in Machu Picchu for part. Yeah, it was great. But it was kind of like there was a reason because then we went back to LA where we lived at the time for 2 days, and then went to Bora Bora. So we were like, well, let's like go on a fucking week-long hike and get all ripped and then go put our bathing suits on. So, but long story short, there was one, I think it's Malarone. Yeah. They were like, if you are thinking about getting pregnant or whatever, then don't take it. Don't take the other one. Mefloquine. Yeah. So we were on Malarone.
Right.
And before we hiked the Inca Trail in Peru, we worked like a travel company, and they had like, well, you can add these 3-day extensions. Go to the Galapagos, go to Chile, go to Bolivia. And we're like, oh, we'll go to the Amazon River Delta in Bolivia. And so we did, and there was this awesome place, and you stay in like these tents that there are no walls. There's a bug screen basically, and you're sleeping, and there are probably 10 tents at the
mosquito net,
basically, but they're firm. It's a firm screen, but you hear and see everything. And we saw all nutras and like that little like giant
the
rabbit, and monkeys, and we had been on some. I think we had just a month prior been to Europe, and we had gone to like Dachau, and then we had kind of gone down this rabbit hole of reading more about World War II.
Right.
And so we're there. This is a month prior. And so now we're in Bolivia. We're staying in this place that doesn't have any solid walls. You can't see anybody around you. There's no ambient light. And they also, it's one of those eco retreats where they unplug the master switch or whatever at 7 p.m. and don't turn it on until 7 a.m.
Right.
And you have like lanterns and stuff. But we're laying in bed. We're asleep. And it's like 2 a.m. and my wife wakes up and she's like, Hitler's going to get me. Hitler's going to get me.
Wow.
And I fucking shoot awake. And she's having this vivid dream and shaking and sweating and crying. And it lasts for about 30 seconds. And she's like, don't let him take me. Don't let him take me. I'm like, hey, we're fine. We're fine. Yeah. And then she's like, and goes back to sleep. And I'm fucking wide awake, terrified because my wife just woke up.
She had a night terror.
She had a night terror, but she, I guess, got it out of her system and was asleep. And I was like, okay, well, now all I can think about is all the bugs and animals that are right outside of our tent. Like this is a little scary. But so that was my one experience. I didn't have, not that I recall.
Yeah, it affects people differently. Some are super sensitive to it. Yeah,
got her bad.
So I knew these two children that were kiddos adopted from Brazil, and they were brought to Congo, and they were living in a village called Nyankunde, which is like a missions kind of center town, but it had been ransacked and over 5,000 people were killed there with machetes and machine guns. It was wild. Bullet holes all in the walls, and they stripped the lights, any of the lights of the people that used to live there, stripped the cord out of there so you get the copper wires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But these little ones, Laura was my pilot, and her little ones were on mefloquine. And
is that something they do year round in the Congo?
So, I mean, malaria will kill you. It kills millions of people.
Yeah.
So,
so that's something that it's like a regiment they're on.
Yeah. Trying to be a preventative, but it's not good. This woman's children had psychotic breaks, and they had to go to Denmark. They had to go to, right around Denmark, Finland, and try to see some of the best specialists in the world over there, close to where they developed the drug. And because it was Sweden or Switzerland, but they were going around, bouncing around Europe, trying to get help. Yeah. And 4 or 5 years later, last I heard was they still hadn't made a recovery from it. But lots of people wake up with night terrors, but you never know if it's the malaria drugs or the things that they've been exposed to and seen. But man, talking about Jen, or do you call her Genevieve? Which one do you normally?
Either. It depends on if I'm mad at her or not.
Okay.
Which I'm never.
When you're mad, it's
I'm
the
never
full
mad
name.
at you, baby. Yeah. It's like the kids. Thomas Colton.
So you guys met on set, is that right?
We met on set of Supernatural. Yeah. She had done a quick and eventless backstory for me. I grew up in San Antonio. Yeah. My parents still live in the house
Texas,
I grew up in.
Born and bred.
Born and bred, man. Very proud Texan. I have a little star.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Of course you'd be Walker. No one else was creative. You can't have a California kid playing Walker.
No.
But Texas Ranger.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I wanted to go to, this sounds silly and it kind of sounds self-serving because Austin is now such a hot spot. But like my brother and I and my sister, we all growing up in a simple, modest, loving household in San Antonio, we were all like, man, one of these days we want to be able to like live in Austin. And at the time it was like the Capitol building and you could go UT. Yeah. And so my sister went to UT, my brother Springs. And Barton Springs. Yeah. So we would come up and go to Barton Springs, or we would go, there's a place in Valente Beach on Lake Travis that you could rent a boat for like $20 an hour or something. And so we'd splurge on my dad's birthday, which is in June, or mine in July. And we'd come up and we rent a boat for like 5 hours for $100 and just drive around Lake Travis, get a tube and stuff like that. And so my brother ended up getting a basketball scholarship to St. Mary's down in San Antonio. So he didn't go to UT. My sister, who's younger, did. But I was enrolled at UT in 2000 after I graduated in San Antonio. And then I got a role on Gilmore Girls. Right. And so at the time it was such a different world. It was 21 years ago.
How old were you then?
I'm 39 now. I was 17. I was 17. Wow. Yeah. But I was 7. It was like I was 17. I was turning 18 a month later or something. Right. It was May or June of 2000. And I remember vividly opening up my check for the first episode of Gilmore Girls. And I remember it for a reason. I got paid was like 4 days of work. I got paid $1,234. So $1,234. And I was like, I'm the richest motherfucker on the planet. Like dollar bill. It's like UT, suck it. And then they invited me back and I was like, well, I'm making I was taking student loans and stuff, like I didn't grow up with a lot. I grew up with plenty. I never knew whether we were billionaires or destitute. A very happy household and all that. But I was going to do the student loan and grant and scholarship route. And so part of me was like, well, I love acting. This seems to be working. Even if I do like 4 or 5 episodes, I'll have $5,000 or $6,000 to put towards my student loans. And then Gilmore Girls, I ended up doing for 5 years, and then did Supernatural to kind of circle back to Genevieve, whatever. And we met on season 4 of Supernatural. It was like July of 2008. And she was like living in New York at the time. And so she would fly home in between. She wasn't a series regular. She was kind of going to be like in a 23 episode season. She was going to do 10, and so she'd come and shoot Thursday, Friday, and then she'd be out on the first flight. And then funny enough, we had gotten to know each other and made friends. And in October, so we had known each other for 3.5 months. We had, I thought she was fucking beautiful and hot and sexy.
Yeah, when the sparks start to fly.
Well, they were flying, but there was never really, and also there was, even in 2008, I think I was like, I don't want to be the guy who's like the lead in the show, and there's this little hot starlet guest actress who's like, hey, take you to dinner, stay for breakfast. I didn't want to I didn't want to feel douchey, but by October, when we'd known each other a few months, I was like, okay, I think she gets that I'm not an asshole or trying to be like, hey, I'm kind of famous on this show. And so I asked her if she wanted to go to lunch over the weekend. And she was like, I'm heading back to New York. I got some stuff moving or something. I was like, cool. And then like later in the day, she was like, hey, so about that lunch, I don't have my passport. I lost my passport. I can't leave the country. So if you still want to go get some sweet potato fries, then let's do it. And so we did.
That was your invitation? Sweet potato fries?
Yeah, because she was talking about it. Because when you when you're on set or whatever, they'll have buffets, and she just loved sweet potato fries. And she's all of 100 pounds.
I could have gotten Amy with that line for sure.
It works.
She loves fries.
It
works.
Sweet potato fries. Take notes,
good.
gentlemen. Single gentlemen's out there. Invite the ladies to fries.
If there's anything that's gathered from this podcast. And so we went out for sweet potato fries at lunch and like stayed for dinner. And that was it.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
That was in 2008.
Oh, wow. So how many years? 14?
13.
Yeah. Well, Amy and I have a little bit of a similar story where
we do. It didn't involve sweet potato fries.
It didn't involve sweet potato fries, but
drop the ball, man.
Seriously.
You're right. But I've made up for it with many times over sweet potato fries.
Yeah, you have.
But I also met her kind of on set. Or at least that's where we met in Sedona. You're right about that.
Yeah, we did.
But I came and I did your podcast.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
I was here.
What?
I came and did her podcast.
You did my podcast.
I was her first guest.
My first guest for my show last fall. I know.
Yeah.
Wait,
well, he pitched it to me.
How did that
when
happen?
we met?
Pitched him being on it, or you doing it?
He pitched him being on my podcast when we
It's
met.
a great move.
Yeah. And I didn't know who he was. And I was like, okay. And he was like, everyone's saying I should talk to you about your podcast.
Well, they
I was like,
were.
all right.
Here's the question inquiring minds want to know. Did he give you his number or like his agent's number?
His number.
Okay, that's at least positive. So you didn't pull like the, hey, have your people call me.
No, he didn't.
Call me.
That might have been a turn off.
That's
that
good.
that
would have absolutely been a turn off.
No, actually, I met her in Sedona, and we were doing this we were in a mastermind group together, and
what group?
like a mastermind, like business. It's more of a community of like people that are wanting to make the world better. And
amazing.
So, there's some were actors and musicians and athletes and business people. And we all came together in Sedona, and there was this like healing exercise of men and women standing in lines across from each other. So one line of men, one line of women.
Like a middle school dance.
Like a middle school dance. We didn't know who we were going to go ask. Yeah. But we looked across and they asked us to get really raw, really vulnerable and step forward if we've ever experienced this certain type of trauma or experience.
Wow.
So it was step forward if you've been bullied. So I step forward. Step forward if you've been a bully. People would step forward. Sexual, so all sorts of things. Stepping forward and allowing yourself to be seen in 150 people.
Deep.
Yeah,
and it was really interesting because the whole point was like that men and women have had the same experiences, and sometimes we feel a disconnect, like, oh, you don't understand, you don't get. And so really you were supposed to see the other, the masculine and the feminine were supposed to see each other and really know that we
see them
experience.
as a human,
and
as a boy or girl.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to invite in healing for those things. And when I looked over, we weren't standing across from each other, but she was off to the side, and you're scanning, you're looking people in the eyes. And when I saw her, I just locked eyes. Yeah. I think I had to turn my shoulders to like look at her. Mm-hmm. And then he
gradually started throwing people.
Start throwing people over my shoulder.
That's one of his moves, Jared.
I was looking at her and she was just there for it, where everyone else had just kind of glanced at.
Yeah.
But when we locked eyes, I couldn't look away.
No kidding.
And she just was staring me down. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And my lips started quivering because she was like looking into my eyes, looking through my eyes, like into my soul. Yeah. And I started to tear up. And whenever one tear dropped, I like looked away, and we told my mom the story. And my mom says, Amy's the only one in 15 years of professional fighting or wrestling that's ever beaten me in a stare down. The only one to ever have me look away
this
first.
Dude's not fucking looking away. So, all right, let's go.
Amazing.
Yeah. Let's bring it on. And then he finally looked away, and I was like, I won. No, not really.
And then I took her out for sweet potato fries.
That's the move, man.
No, actually though, I people had told me she's got a podcast. You should go be on her show, because I've been on Rogan's a bunch. And so I told her, I met her, and you got to see me as a Viking, like at the talent show. I got to MC for this like talent show. Like,
everyone's telling me about your podcast, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm like, who are you? He was like, I've been on Rogan, 8 times or whatever. And I was like,
his name dropping like
shit.
that.
Hey,
yeah, you did. You threw Rogan in.
That's when you know that you, whatever you, for a modest, humble guy to drop names, he's trying to get somewhere fast.
It worked.
No, but I got to tell her that.
I also love your statement of like, she got to see you as a Viking, which means she fucking opened her eyes and looked at you at any point in time, any point in the day or night. Like,
I dressed up. I dressed up in a costume like a Viking.
He wore a Viking hat, roller skates, and
iridescent roller
those
skates.
Vikings. I didn't realize how much the Vikings loved rollerblading.
Is that right? You think ice skates?
I actually pretty good on the roller skates. You've never seen me fall? And we've been out a lot of times.
Not.
But we're getting way off.
Way off topic.
Way off topic. But I got to come on the show, and right afterwards, I thought, and I really was trying to be professional. Yeah. And I mean, I thought she was gorgeous and beautiful too. Yeah. But right after it, on the show, we like, I don't know, felt like sparks were flying or whatever to me. And I was her first guest. And then the team that you just met, I got to meet all that team after the podcast. Oh, yeah. So I'm meeting all them, and I see her getting closer to the door, like as if she's leaving. I'm like, And so I just go, guys, time out. And I went right up and asked her to lunch right after that.
How cool, man.
And we went out and got to know each other. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? Austin's not that bad. I think I want to move to Austin, Texas.
It's a great spot. Mm-hmm. I love that story.
Thanks.
I love that story.
Thanks. Well, back to your story. Son.
Back to you.
Yeah, back to you.
Listen,
let's talk more about us.
I wear makeup for a living. I'm really not that interesting.
No, but one thing that I saw was you had started something. I don't know if it was back in like 2015, but it wasn't Never Stop Fighting. It was always keep fighting. Mm-hmm. Always keep fighting. And you had a quote that I saw that was, what is it?
There it
is. You can
is.
just read it, but it's, when life beats you down, never give up. Always keep fighting.
Yeah.
And you guys were supporting, she wrote,
To Write Love in Our Arms.
To Write Love in Our Arms.
Attitudes in Reverse. And we worked with a few different charities. Wow. Yeah. And that was 2015, I believe.
And what does that mean to you, always keep fighting?
It means, is it Rumi or Reiki who says no feeling is final? It's not fighting a la mixed martial arts by any means. It's just sort of, I think have a few different kind of beliefs, and I've proudly been in professional therapy twice a week for 5 years.
Nice.
And I don't know if I've ever talked about this publicly, but I think it was that summer in 2015. I went to a clinic, what do you call it? Inpatient clinic to just figure it out, because I would look around me and I had a, beautiful, supportive, kind, loving wife and healthy kids and arguably successful job and career and this and that. And I still would just, I just get alone and cry, I just was just sad. And I was like, this isn't making any sense. And my wife and I finally talked, and she's like, I want you to look into this. And I grew up in San Antonio. It was like, through no fault of my parents or my teachers or my coaches or my friends or whatever, it was sort of like, put some Windex on it and toughen up. Yeah. And I got good at that. You know what I mean? I got good at that doing that on the surface, but there was still a lot going on kind of in my head. And I got to a point where I was having a lot of, like, this is kind of whatever. I'm just gonna be, I got to a point where there was like a lot of suicidal ideation. Yeah. Seeping in there. Yeah.
I've actually, just so you know, I've attempted suicide twice in my life, like for real attempts. So I feel you.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Yeah. It's not fun. As you know.
Right.
And I had kind of been honest, I was in Geneva. We were doing some conventions for Supernatural, and we were doing like one in Rome or one in London or Birmingham or something. And then it was going to Rome the next week. And I'm a huge watch fan. Like I love reading about watches, collecting watches, this and that. But I was like, I'm going to go. Jen was, for whatever reason, I think we had a baby. She wasn't there with me. And so I needed to film Monday to Friday. And I was like, I'm going to go to the motherland of the watch world. I'm going to go to Geneva, Switzerland. I'm going to go to the museums, this and that. And it was so silly. So I flew there. I was alone. I was probably still jet lagged and stuff. And then I got there on some like national holiday. And so I think I had 24, 48 hours there. And so everything was closed, and I was like, it's a sign. You start making everything a sign. Everything that goes wrong is a sign. It's like, of course my flight got delayed because I'm a failure or something. Of course I'm here on a national holiday and I didn't look into it because I'm fucking stupid or whatever it is. And you're looking for signs to tell you you're a failure, as opposed to going like, hey, shit happens. I'm going to walk around Lake Geneva or something.
Yeah.
And so I was on the phone with some buddies and with Jen, and Jen basically said, in no uncertain terms, like, you got to come back. You got to look at this. You got to take care of this and look at this. I did. She saved my life. Went back, and I don't remember exactly the relationship of when the Always Keep Fighting campaign started, but I think the idea was that, it's tough. I think for me, whether it was school or things, I'm very fortunate, man. Like, things always seem to kind of play out, like my parents are married and love each other and are alive. My brother's doing well. My sister's, like, everything seems like, oh, it's all working. And so I guess part of me was wired to kind of think like, hey, everything's going to work always, and so when something didn't work, I let it be so hard, but I was like, oh, it'll fix itself. And soon enough, I think Always Keep Fighting was kind of my motto to myself, that like, hey, grab the oar and start rowing the boat. Like, sometimes the current isn't just going to put you in a place where you're happy and healthy. And there's a saying that, there's no feeling is final. But one of my probably my favorite saying is, pain is mandatory, suffering is optional. And so I think a lot of people hope that it'll go away. I think what my message to myself was, and by virtue of being public about it, my, I guess, opinion to others was that it's fucking painful, and it's going to be painful. You don't have to, it's going to be painful. You don't have to let it make you suffer, but you can fight against it. Like take action, you know, as opposed to just being a bystander or something. And so that's kind of the way that started.
Well, I love that. This podcast, Overcome, was started because you and I sitting here today with the suicidal ideation and depression, like we have overcome 100% of our darkest days. Yeah, we have. We've survived them. We've overcame them. Now it's time that we can share a light or share a love with the world.
And also like to let people know you're not alone.
Yeah.
You know, like wherever you are, you can be.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, you can be a Viking or an actor or anything in between and go like, no, shit sucks, man. Yeah. Like I've been there and I haven't been through exactly, I'm empathetic to what you're going through. I'm sorry you're going through it. Others have gone through it. Like speak up about it. Like I think part of, and I'm a very proud Texan, very, very proud Texan. I mean, I have a fucking Lone Star tattoo. But there is, at least when I grew up in the 80s, there's something here that's a bit more like, push it down, it'll go away. Yeah, you know,
I grew up with that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not there to some degree. If it's like, oh, I sprained my ankle, it'll be better in 3 days. Then deal with it. But it's trying to find that line of like, this is something I should talk about, as opposed to if you're tired and for the first half hour of the day, but you're going to be fine, then you know you can push that down because it'll go away. But if it's something serious going on, like, I was astonished, you know, because I think. You know, I did well in school. I had been doing plays and sports and this and that. And then I went straight from high school to Gilmore Girls, straight from Gilmore Girls to Supernatural. I had done some movies in between. Everything had been going well. I felt like and I still to some degree do feel like this, but I felt like at least my persona was that of like the guy who just does it, you know, like the skipper will do it, you know, like sort of feed it to Mikey, he'll eat it. Like I was just up for whatever. And I was immune to physical or emotional pain, and it was bullshit. Yeah. And it's still bullshit. Like I still get hurt by a lot of stuff. I wonder if you feel this. So I always thought fighters, and maybe actors too, right? Like, fighters are feelers, and maybe actors are feelers too, right? Yeah. I mean, you have to get to an emotional state. Yeah. But I also think with that, like there's nothing, some of the best people I know, like Dustin Poirier, how he just raised funds for us, and Manny Pacquiao, he just raised funds with us for us. Jeez. These guys are fighters, but that fighter's heart, has like a deeper well of compassion a lot of times, because a lot of times what they've come up with. But I think also actors, like you guys feel into things, you feel into scenes, but you can, whenever you're away from that, for me, I was the youngest guy at the highest level whenever I got selected on The Ultimate Fighter. Yeah. And I was fighting at 19 professionally at 21. I mean, you were skyrocketed, right, to Gilmore Girls. And you went from, I mean, maybe just like the local scene to the national scene. I felt that on a much smaller scale, but still like 6.8 million people were watching the fights. And so I don't think I've ever had 6.8 million people watch anything I've ever done. So you know what I mean? Well, that was Ultimate Fighter, the biggest season ever. It was a great season. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. And so when we were walking in the grocery store, you know, people taking pictures, and all of a sudden you feel like you're put on this pedestal or this platform that like, oh, I can't fail. I can't let myself. I grew up with a family that my mom and I really tried to help someone that we dearly, desperately loved, kind of do an intervention and get them into an inpatient place. Good for you. But the whole family was against it. He just needs to pull himself up by the bootstraps. And we needed a third person with us, and nobody from the family would do it except us two. So that person continued in that cycle. Well, so maybe 10, 15 years later, I'm needing to go to rehab and go get help for my drug addiction. Oxycontin was my drug of choice. I heard. Yeah. And so it was, you know, I didn't feel like I could open up and tell anybody, because now not only did I have the platform of fighting, now I have a nonprofit, and I have donors, and I have a board of directors, and I have these people I'm trying to help, and I'm going to let them down. I'm going to be outcast. I'm going to be thrown out. No one's going to understand. What do I have to complain about now? I've gotten through this and gotten through this. But man, whenever I went through a surgery, a divorce, then COVID hit real hard. And then I was isolated and secluded and just in my feelings, and also the addiction. I went back to that. Whenever I did the addiction,
or whenever I started to use again, man, it felt like I got put in the deepest rear naked choke, and my hands were locked down. I couldn't even fight it. Like I just thought for sure this is the end this time.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going to Mexico, completely alone by myself and attempting to take my life right down there. And thank God I woke up.
God, you failed that.
Yeah. It was 5 oxy 80s, which is equivalent to 85 milligrams. So like 80, like almost 3 prescription bottles of it. And somehow I woke up and I felt a sense in my spirit or in my mind, especially in my heart, that like, you're not done yet. Yeah. And that's not the legacy that I'm going to leave. And if I could relate it to anything, like it's always keep fighting. Yeah. I got this sense that like, I am like you, man, every single person listening and he can hear our voice and our story and us opening up and sharing about this. Yeah. It's like, we all have a purpose for being here. There's a reason for the breath in our lungs, and we can be grateful for the beating heart in our chest. And there's somebody that we get to impact. And, we can't do everything for everyone, but we can do something for someone. And we might even be able to do everything we wanted for one person. Right. And that's how we came together. Yeah. Through Raiden. He was going, my goal or my hope. What a champ, man. What a champ. Isn't he awesome? Dude, he's incredible. And he, for the audience that doesn't know, he was born with autism. Mm-hmm. He was born with deaf in his right ear also, then found out he had autism. The medications they put him on because his family's diabetic. He gained 110 pounds in about 11 months. So 10 pounds a month, you just lost 5 or 10 pounds in 3 weeks, but the reverse. Can you imagine just putting it on? Yeah. So I could relate to that because I was a real heavy set kid, getting picked on for all that. And man, when I saw the videos like you did of him getting beat up at the urinal and then at the bus stop, jumped by numerous people, I cried first. Jim, my executive director, told me about it. And he sent me the videos because this girl, to me, Emily, she's the hero of this story. She was a 12-year-old in his class. And she gave it to her dad because her dad knew Jim, my executive director, who's like my second dad, who's helped me with Fight for the Frat in the last 9 years. Wow. So that dad got it to Jim. Jim got it to me. And after crying, I was like, well, we got with him the next day. And Jim said, what are you going to do? And I go, I don't know. I just feel like I need to be the guy that I needed when I was his age.
That's incredible, man. Yeah.
So I really appreciate you and anyone that uses their platform, whether it's you, Manny, Dustin, Joe, those guys that can use their platform for philanthropy or to fight for people, to make the world better, and be open and transparent like you just were and say, hey, I struggle too. Yeah. Yeah. I think people don't get that everybody struggles.
Everybody's, pain is mandatory.
Pain is mandatory.
Suffering is optional. I think also I've been lucky, and it sounds like in parts of your life, you've been lucky as well. Yeah. Where somebody has fought for you. Yes. And so that's how I understood, because it was being on that pedestal you speak of, it was, tangible and felt real. But you feel like I have to say I'm okay, nothing's wrong in my life, or they'll be upset. And so you get a certain response from people, and you're like, I can't admit that I'm in pain. I can't admit that I'm sad. I can't admit that I'm hurting. And I was gobsmacked and astonished by when I came out and aired my dirty laundry, like the outpouring of love and support and people who fought for me gave me a new, I see the meaning of this world, this planet, this society. We all got to fight for each other. And unfortunately, for some people who maybe are not in a place where they feel comfortable admitting that they could use somebody to fight for them, they hold it back. That's what I did. It sounds like that's what you did.
I did.
And my only kind of wish for everybody out there who might be going through something and being quiet about it is give it a shot. Like, you feel vulnerable. You feel like you're naked at school, going like, hey, I actually have something going on. My head is doing funny things, even though objectively I realize that it should be perfectly pleased. Yeah. Because then you see these people coming out of the shadows who are fighting for you. You'll see the opposite as well. And that's unfortunate, especially in the world we live in right now. And that's really difficult. And I feel for teens. I have a 9-year-old, 7-year-old, 4-year-old, and I think about the world they'll be in 5, 10 years. Because I still get, like if I mention, I'll mention, maybe I shouldn't even give this airtime, but whatever. Sure. But I'll mention like a Kickstarter or a charity, and you'll see that a bunch of money is given, and then you'll see like 2 or 3 where it's like, well, you make a lot of money. Why don't you give them? And you're like, like it hurts. It still hurts. You're like, I hate to admit it, because I want to, like, part of me wants to punch people, and part of me wants to go like, I'm trying to, A, I am giving money as well, but B, I want other people to have that feeling of giving as well, whether it's 30 cents or $30 or whatever in between. But you feel, I'm empathetic. Like I feel bad for the people who that's their response of like, well, you're on TV. Why don't you just do it? I'm going to do it as well, but that's not the point. The point is like, hey guys, we can all band together and build up this person or this cause. Yeah. I have a perspective on that just from being a nonprofit founder of 10 years now. Yeah. That's amazing. We've been very fortunate to have thousands of donors from all 50 states and from 60 different countries. No way. Yeah. Jesus, but most of those are one-time gifts, small donors. I mean, we every month we get like equivalent to like 25 cents in Russian rubles or something like that from a monthly giver in our fight club. And I loved seeing those rubles transferred over. And then I thought that was like a movie thing where they say rubles. Like, I didn't know that was legit. It's actually rubles. Ugandan shillings we get. Learn something new every day. Yeah, all sorts of different currency. But it would make it easier if we had one donor that said, hey, here's $1 million or here's $2 million. But you know what? I don't think it would be as rewarding or fulfilling as seeing an army of people, a tribe that believes in what you're doing and that might be working at a restaurant. And some of their extra tip or whatever they're giving to you. Because now it's what they're doing as well. Yes. Mm-hmm. That one donor that could just write the check and fund everything. It'd be nice, but we want. So it would almost rob the blessing for those other people to be able to participate. Agreed. And so one of my favorite fundraising moments was I went and spoke at whatever city I live in. I normally go and either speak or volunteer at the rescue mission in the children's hospital. Yeah. So for the homeless in Denver, no, this wasn't Denver. This was Oklahoma City. And I go and I speak there, and I just had a blast with the guys. And then I was invited back to kind of the men and women's night. And then I was invited back when the kids were there. And so because kids are growing up in homelessness in Oklahoma City, which is not okay. I saw that the other day. Remember me telling you about that, Amy, the other day? I went under one of the bridges here in Austin, and there was this mom and dad that, being an addict, you can, if you spot it, you got it kind of thing. And I can see these parents are high. And their kid comes out of the tent, and he's 9 or 10 years old, and it's 100 degrees outside, and he looks tired and who knows what. But anyways, so I can really empathize and one of the times I was in rampant my addiction, I was in a trailer, for weeks and really struggling and suffering to get by. And so anyways, I spoke at this Oklahoma City one three different times. They invite me back maybe, 4 or 5 months later. Mm-hmm. I come down, and the guy that was present at all 3 of these, I think his name was Steve, and he was present at all 3. He came, he grabbed me and said, could you come back to my room? I'm like, well, yeah, sure. And I have a badge on, a approved volunteer. So I go back there with him, and he brings 2 of the guys back. He goes, this is the guy I've been telling you about. And about me. And we get back there, and he opens his book, and he pulls out a crisp $100 bill. It's this guy in homelessness, and he said, I've been saving this and saving this and saving this and waiting to see you and waiting to see you. And I had to get one of the guys that helped book me there to get me back out there so that he could give me that $100. And those kind of moments, I'm just yes. First, you know what I told him at first? I said, oh man, I can't take this. And in his face,
I go, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, I've been saving this for you. I go, sorry, man. I know. I just want you to be able to help yourself too along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't deny yourself help before you help someone else. Like you got to help yourself first. That's what I learned at treatment.
Yeah.
Well, how is that? Because some people might not have heard this.
Put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yep.
You can't help somebody if you run out of oxygen.
Yeah.
You can help them for 3 seconds.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about Onnit, my favorite supplement. They have been a company that I am blown away by. One, I'm friends with Joe Rogan, Aubrey Marcus, so many of the coaches from Onnit to John, all the guys in there. The community that is in that gym is unlike any I've ever experienced. But their supplements, I've been taking them since I was in the Congo living there for a year. The first 6 months, it was brutal being just, I would say, lacking nutrition and proper diet and living in the elements, sleeping on the ground. And whenever I got a DHL delivery in Uganda, I had to bring it back to Congo. But whenever I had Alpha Brain, whenever I had Shroom Tech, whenever I had some of these other supplements, man, I felt like it rejuvenated me after I had malaria and I was just so depleted and I was trying to make a recovery so hard. And that's whenever I tried Onnit for the very first time. And I love it. I still do, many years later. And they've come out with something new. Alpha Brain's always been my favorite product, but now they have their Focus Shot. This tropical flavor one I love, as well as the peach. It's really great, but why do I love Onnit even more? And why am I telling you about them? I'm telling you about them because they're a sponsor of this show, but they're giving to Fight for the Forgotten, my greatest passion and purpose, the nonprofit that I started 10 years ago. And I'm just so grateful for that. If you go to onnit.com and you buy one of the supplements, you can use the discount code overcome, the name of this podcast, overcome. And the donation button there, if you donate $1, they're going to donate another $1. It'll become $2. If you donate 100, they'll donate 100 also. So they're not just a product that's all about optimizing, your human performance, but they're helping me optimize my life passion and purpose and giving back to the nonprofit I love most, Fight for the Forgotten. So they're truly helping me fight for people. They're helping me make a comeback to fighting. I'm working out there, my strength and conditioning, and it's the best of the best of the best that I've ever had. And I'm just so grateful.
I'm so grateful too. It's amazing. And just, you will not only give back to Fight for the Forgotten, but you get your discount. Yeah. And if you subscribe, like I've had this Alpha Brain Focus Shot page pulled up, they have like a subscribe and save thing. So you can subscribe to it. You get a discount. You get a discount with Overcome as your code. And then you get to give back to Fight for the Forgotten. Yeah. And then they give money to them too.
Yeah. I mean, it's really great.
It's great.
It really is. Like whenever they brought this to me, I was like, whoa, is this real? Like this is awesome. So I truly, I've used their products for 7-8 years.
What do you think of these Focus Shots?
I love the Focus Shots.
Normal
Alpha Brain doesn't have caffeine in it, and this has a little bit. I like having caffeine.
I like a little.
50 isn't a small amount, but this is plant-based caffeine. So you're getting it from like natural green tea and other things like that.
I got to tell you, you know what I did?
What?
I shook it up really good. And then I split one between my kids' smoothies in the morning.
There you go.
Because they've been so exhausted when they started school.
You're right.
And like to help their focus and their energy. Is that wrong, do you think?
No,
I think it's great.
I mean, they're going to get caffeine at school, whether it's Coca-Cola. Like this is great for you. And the way that they were laying on that couch, I mean, zonked out, like half their bodies were their feet were on the floor and they were just like half off. So
I think it helps.
They're exhausted playing volleyball.
I mean, they say on here, it promotes focus and energy, supports a positive mood state. Good Lord, they need that. We all need that, and helps manage mental stress. We need that too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just, I think there's lots of different ways that you can do it.
Yeah. Well, I love them. Jared had one to start the show and I did too. And we had a great conversation. For me, for this podcast, like these conversations, I want to be really present during. The new Alpha Brain Black Label, I mean, that is made to get you in your flow state faster and stay there longer. So I think it's all awesome products. I love them all.
Awesome. Well, everybody go to onnit.com and enter your code OVERCOME.
That's right. And if you'd like to donate, we invite you to join the tribe.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's amazing. It's such a powerful, that's something that actually and it maybe is like imposter syndrome or guilt or something that I have, but like if I go out to a restaurant with some friends, my instinct is that like, it's going to be $50. Like I know this guy doesn't make what I make. This girl, she lost her job, pandemic. This person just had a dog. So I'm just like, I want to, and it always kind of gives me pause when they're like, no, man, like, let us get you. And you're like, no. And for me, it's sort of like, I just don't want to, I want to ignore it. I still am dealing with that. But when you see somebody be able to contribute, and it's not even about money. It's about like, hey, I'll help you unpack your boxes or whatever it is, whatever way you can help. It doesn't have to be dollars and cents or rubles or shillings. Yeah. And I know you know that, but just the time, even just a phone call or a text, like taking the time to return a text or email or something, going like, I know you got kids. I know you got a job. Like, thanks for taking the time to respond to that and to think about it and give me your thought process and your perspective and get back to me on it.
Do you know what I think is one of the most important things for people who maybe could say they have similar struggles to you and I, at least I know for me, we want happiness, but I think to get happiness, you have to have purpose. You have to be making like progress. Yeah. And you have to belong. You have to have a community and you have to be contributing in that community. Because whenever I lived with the Pygmy people and the first well we drilled got broken. It wasn't among the Pygmy people. It was at a university. It was among the staff. We drilled a well there and there was a dispute between the high school kids and the middle school kids or something, because the high schoolers came over to that water well that we drilled that was a good source of water. Right. Well, the younger kids used to go to the high school and it wasn't as good of a well. Actually, I don't think it was very safe to drink. But those kids went over there and the high school kids would always kick them off and say, you're too young. This is the high schooler as well. So anyways, the high schoolers came over to the staff's well where the kids were, and the little kids kind of smarted off to them. This is our parents' well. You can't have this. So the high schoolers out of meanness broke that well. And to tell the story, why I share that was because they just expected me, a Westerner,
to come fix it or something?
Because I might have had the finances to do it, the tools to do it. And whenever they told me, I went back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll fix it right now. But then when I looked at it, I'm like, this looks like it was broken. I sent pictures back to the people that trained me. Like, this was purposely broken out of meanness. We've drilled 4,000 wells and we've never seen one like this. And I was like, whoa. And so when they told me that, I got kind of fiery. I was like, I gave this to them. I fundraised it. Like, fundraising's hard. And so I worked my butt off and I came over and I sweat and all the stuff. I'm like, I'm not fixing this thing unless you guys pay for the repairs. I'm not fixing it. Yeah. Well, after that, they got the kids that did it, their parents, and then they kind of, let them have it. And then they made the community all pitch in for it. After that, I learned a big lesson. When you give someone something for free, oftentimes, if you think about a kid, they don't value it as much. They might not keep it as clean or take as good care of it. Yeah. But whenever they have some buy-in and they contribute to it, oh man, they put a fence around this well. They had a check time where like 3 or 5 different times a day, it was open for about an hour. Yeah. They had people cleaning it daily. They had a checklist. They came up with a treasury in the community.
And I bet they were more grateful for it after they
so much more grateful. Yeah. We had a little celebration the first time. So for all 78 wells we've ever drilled for over 60,000 people, every single community has contributed and they've helped us whether it's feeding us the whole time we're there, putting us up, and grabbing the tools. Sometimes we train some of them on how to do like kind of the day labor work and they always contribute. And since then there's been a repetitive pattern that they always protect it. Yeah. They value it. Yeah. They set up a little account. Purpose. Purpose. They contribute.
They contribute, which gives them a purpose and gives them something to continually
meaning.
Yeah. Meaning, like you can give somebody money. You can't give them purpose. They have to find that themselves. We all have to find it ourselves. I'm not speaking about others. I'm speaking about myself as well. And this is nothing like what you've done, but even something as silly as like acting, like, I've been very fortunate and done 400 something episodes of television. Wow. which makes me feel really old. But beside the point, like I still love storytelling. And I think my idea, and I had this conversation with somebody earlier today, as a matter of fact, is like giving somebody an escape. Like I'm not cashing a check these days. I've been very lucky. But if I can give somebody 42 minutes, 60 minutes with commercials to just kind of think of a different story, think of a different perspective, laugh, maybe cry, everything in between, then that's great. And something you were saying, I can't recall it right now, but it reminded me talking about like what you and I have been through, what so many people have been through and are going through. You had mentioned that when you see somebody, you said something like, if you have it, you see it or something.
You spot it, you got it.
If you spot it, you got it. I feel like that way with people who have been down in the depths and had, let's call it suicidal ideation. And generally they're so, if they've gotten to a point, they're so kind because they've been there and they don't want somebody else to go through it. And I'm going to say this gentleman's name, who's a great man. And I'm only going to say because he said it very publicly, but the CEO founder of To Write Love in Our Arms, Jamie Twerkowski, he's very public about how he's been suicidal. And I've spent time with him. He's the kindest soul on the planet. You see his eyes and you're like, he's amazing. He's an amazing guy. But you just see him and you're like, I feel like you're hugging me from afar. Like he just is kind because he's seen, like he's been fighting. Like his will to fight is there and it's strong because he fights from, or he has fought from waking up to going to bed. And so it's not like, don't mistake kindness for weakness. Like he's a fighter. He's been fighting against stuff that he's been going through for decades. He doesn't have any interest in fighting somebody in the streets. So you kind of can realize, you'll see somebody talking, like that person's like had anxiety or depression or something because they're being so measured and gentle with those around them and patient. They have this desire to not cause that. Like somebody who's been through real bad pain, well, I guess it can go one of two ways. This is kind of a blanket statement that maybe isn't true, but I've been fortunate enough to see people who have gone through bad pain and want nothing more than to not cause somebody else to go through bad pain.
Yeah.
Makes any sense.
No, that makes a ton of sense. So, I'm in recovery for addiction and, I'm going through the steps, the second time, the 12 steps.
Yeah.
And there's a chapter and it talks about how alcoholics and addicts, because it applies to both, that they are, like that of survivors from a great liner. So basically like
survivors from a great liner?
A great liner, which is like a shipwreck of a shipwreck of a great liner.
Okay.
And so the language of the day was back in the 30s. And it was after the Titanic sunk. And basically what they're saying is it doesn't matter from captain's table to steerage. So from the richest people that are eating with the captain or the people that are throwing the coal and they're all dirty and muck, like we have a common bond and it brings us together and we understand each other unlike anyone else would. And these writers of the big book were talking about basically, Bill Wilson, the guy that wrote it, was basically saying, I've been to the best doctors in the world, from New York to Europe, all these other things. And I've never seen anyone be able to help anybody that's alcoholic like another alcoholic. And they say, whenever when all else fails and you're starting to struggle, get outside of yourself and go help another alcoholic. And so I think you can relate that to a lot of different things. If you're struggling with depression, it also means you have to acknowledge first that you are dealing with whether it's alcoholism or drug addiction or anxiety, depression, or, and I don't know if I mentioned this. Like I hate the word struggle. I like the word, and you didn't say struggle. I don't think you said struggle, but like somebody who is experiencing alcoholism, drug addiction, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation. When they say to me, and I've been fortunate enough to have people reach out to me and say like, hey, I'm struggling with depression. And I'll be like, seems silly. It seems like semantics, but stop saying struggle. Take that. Just say I'm dealing with depression. Yeah. I'm dealing with addiction. I'm dealing with drug addiction. I'm dealing with anxiety, because that kind of it's such a stupid, silly thing. But I feel like I'm a big believer in the law of self-fulfilling prophecies. Yeah, for sure. If you wake up and go like, today's going to suck. Today's going to suck. Yeah. If you wake up and go like, all right, I got this. Like, I'm going to make the most of it. Then you'll make the most of it. Yeah. Like what's the, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Either way. So it's some version of that. But, I love the idea that
it's such a funny, you just mentioned something about having a connection. And I felt so much more of a connection with people around me that I'd never met before after I had been open about like what I had been with. It's like someone you'd almost see it and you'd be like, understood. Like, gotcha. Compared to like, oh, I'm cool. I'm on TV. Like, what do you mean? Like, I got a new car, like that's fuck, like, because you think that they want you to be like, hey, that's the guy that's on TV. He must have a new car and he's probably gonna get an expensive bottle of wine at dinner. Like, what is he ordering? The steak, and that's so douchey. But when you're like, no, man, like I'm breathing oxygen, like I'm having a tough time the same as everybody. I'm very fortunate and I don't argue that or doubt that. But yeah, I still cry,
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
You know what? I was just thinking like, that's one of the things I try to teach my kids too. Like when they have these experiences, like my daughter just had, got left out of a text thread, just the drama, or I had some bullying incidents over the years. And like, I always tell them that I'm like, now you know what it's like. You know what it's like, that feels like. And you don't want to ever do that to somebody. Like you can be grateful for that experience to know, okay, that's exactly what I don't want to be. That's exactly what I don't want to do. And so it gives you kind of that connection where you just like can relate to other people and the type of person that you want to be.
It's in the way you worded it, it almost, you can turn a struggle into a blessing. Like how wonderful is it?
A weakness into a strength.
Sure. Yeah. I like that. How wonderful is it that you can like have something in common with, I don't know how old your children are, but like I'm 39, your children are
they're 16 and 12.
16, 12. Like I have a connection to I've never met them, but like I can say that, and vice versa. Like I can have friends that I've never spent time with that it's something really deep. Like you can have you hear conversations about like, oh, if you've ever done I forget what they're called, like a mushroom trip or something. You're like, then you realize that the world is connected. It's like, well, if you haven't, if you're 8 or if you just haven't done it, you can still realize the world's connected because I feel you to the best degree I can. Not like I know exactly what you've been through because everybody's.
But you can relate.
But you can relate. You can relate and understand and listen.
You can be heard. Right.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna get a bit aggressive on that. Not aggressive. Sorry, I still have COVID brain. I'm gonna do a little sub Reddit to that,
but which is share.
Everyone needs to be heard, but you got to share.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to be heard. Like I can't read your mind. You can't read my mind. Yeah. Nobody's going to read your mind and vice versa.
Yeah.
You deserve to be heard, but the first step of you being heard is sharing.
Yeah.
So,
and you can start small. You don't have to think, you don't have to get your whole family together and sit them all down and make it weird or awkward. Like you can just find one person you feel safe. Or just like you said, therapy. I've been going to therapy for a long time.
It's brilliant.
And now they have all those digital apps that you can use. And
right.
Yeah. And you can do it from your mobile phone because of quarantine or just, we live in a digital age. You can talk with someone that's in another state, but they're a medical professional and they can walk you through this, whatever issue you're dealing with.
It's phenomenal. As much as people can bemoan or bitch about like social media and connectivity, like that resource is saving lives.
Yeah, it is. And it just, I think it just depends on what are you seeking out and what are you not filtering out that, because if I get, like I said on that Reddit, I literally filter out the trash and then I go to aw and made me smile because I want to smile when I go on there. I'm either watching MMA or I'm watching people do badass stuff or I'm watching only for Jared and maybe Jason from time to time.
Momo, yeah. Momo. I didn't realize Reddit had, I feel like every Reddit thing I've seen, and
it's probably because it's the ones you're on.
It's always like what do they call them? Manips, which sounds like man nipples or something, but it means like photoshopped manipulations.
Oh, okay.
So I'll get these, like my friends will be like, dude, thanks for this showing up in my feed today. And it'll be like me in some Speedo or something. And I'm like, well, I wish I looked like that, but that's not me. So I feel like I've kind of purposely avoided Reddit, but I still click on links. I probably shouldn't.
Well, let me ask you this, because so much stuff in social media and maybe in Hollywood can seem, I mean, even in MMA and the buildup of fights, like a lot of things are manipulated And I felt like in the professional sports world, at least MMA, I feel like, UFC says as real as it gets. I do think that the fighters, even in their DNA, they're as real as it gets. A lot of them are just real dudes, and they'll have real conversations with fans, and they'll spend time with them. They'll keep up with them.
Yeah.
And I love that. But how do you keep the thing that I get tired of is conversations that don't go beneath the topsoil. Yeah. That are just kind of surface level.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so how do you and your family, I mean, you live out here in Austin, but it's become the new California.
It really has, man. I think when we moved here, it was like the only other actors were Matthew McConaughey and Dennis Quaid. And now it's like everybody, you walk down the street, you're like, oh, that's the guy from that TV show. That's the girl from the something. I mean, Austin's changed. We got back here. Sorry, I kind of interrupted you, but I think I might know what you were asking. So I mean, the irony as we sit here right now in 2021 is that Austin is such a hot spot. Like Jen and I left California and moved to Austin to get away from all that. And not that Austin is all of a sudden Hollywood by any means.
Yeah.
It's still got a great beating heart.
For sure. I love this. It's great. This is the best city in the world to me.
It's changed. Really, it's changed a lot. It's still the best city I can think of.
Yeah.
So I'm still proud to be an Austinite, and I'm not a NIMBY where it's like, I was here in 2010. You're not like, I hate that shit. I've been to different places where I'm not going to mention any towns by name because there are great people in all the towns, but I've been to towns where maybe like trust fundy type town or something where it's like, well, I'm a local. I've been here for 3 years. When did you move here? 2 years ago? Yeah. Well, you don't know what it was really like. You're like, who gives a shit? Like, it's a cool place. Like, it's not, I am not Austin. I don't own Austin. We moved here because we loved Austin, not because we wanted to like put our stamp and go like, we are Austin. We just loved it. And we wanted to get the fuck out of LA and Hollywood. And so we did. And we moved here and raised a family. And now we have a lot of cool people that are moving here, and great. And it's going to change. And no matter where you live, it's going to change. And Austin's changed in several ways over the last decade. As far as like social media, which I think, and correct me if I'm wrong about thinking what you may be asking, but I think one of the things, I think it's my nature, and probably my nurture because of my job, that for better or worse, whatever I'm doing 100%. Like if I'm talking to you, I'm not thinking about my phone. If I'm like, my job is when they call action, you have present. To be this and 100% present. And then when they call cut, you can go and play chess or whatever, Words with Friends. And so it has a lot of negatives because I'm really bad about communication a lot. Like getting back to friends because I'm like, well, I'm with my kids right now, so I'm not doing anything else. I'm going for a jog right now.
I struggle with that too.
Yeah, and I think it's the way I've talked to my therapist. I think it's the way I deal with anxiety is if I accept the rest of the external stimuli that are coming in, then I get, like my nails are all pitted from chewing, and I'm probably sweating right now. I'm certain sweating, but
you don't look it.
Thank you.
Yeah, your hands.
You getting fresh to me? I like a good beard.
The long hair. Bearded lady boner.
You in the
bearded lady boner.
God.
There we go. We're gonna start that one.
The visual.
I'm on it.
But I think the way I deal with anxiety, and it sounds like maybe you too, is I have to just commit to whatever's in front of me. And the good or bad news is like with social media, I make a conscientious effort to try and avoid a lot of it because I believe it. For some reason, I'm a grown man. I got a wife and kids, and I do different companies and this and that. But for some reason, I still have this vulnerability in me where if I start reading bad stuff, I believe it because I'm there in the moment. Like whether it's watching a TV show or reading a book or whatever, like that's what I'm doing. So if I read like we were talking earlier, like, why don't you just pay the Kickstarter? Then I'm like, why don't I just pay the Kickstarter? But I mean it. I internalize it, and so if I avoid that and just try and focus on being the best I can, like, you'll hear people talking about this person, that person, like, hey, good dude or good chick or asshole or what a jerk. Like, I don't know where I fall it's not for me to determine if I'm a good dude or not. All I know is that I deeply want to be a good dude. You know, I want to be I really badly want to be a good husband, a good father, a good employee, a good employer, a good son, a good friend. And I certainly have moments where I feel like I want to rip that dude's throat out, or I want to make a snarky comment. And sometimes I act on that. But by and large, I want to be a good person, you know? And I've met people, I'm sure we all have, that they'll do nice things, but
ulterior motives.
Like manipulation or whatever. And it's almost like they don't want to be a good person. Like, they want to start fires. They want to start rumors. They want to lie. And maybe it's something pathological. Like, I'm not here to judge, but I'm just saying, like, I'm fortunate in that for whatever reason, by nature and nurture, I really want to be nice. Like, I like being nice. Like, it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
To go like, hey, how are you? As opposed to like,
and come in and say, I'm a hugger every time you reach out.
I am a hugger.
Amy, did you see that with him?
Oh,
we're
I
we're kindred spirits.
Hugger.
We're
huggers.
Yeah.
I'm a hugger.
That's what I did.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
I'm a big time. I'm very tactile.
It's fun to hug.
It was awful.
It is fun to hug.
Awful during COVID when we couldn't hug.
I know.
It's good to hug.
Yeah. And luckily my wife knows that because, well, at least pre-COVID, like if I was out on the streets or at a convention or at a movie or something, and I meet somebody, then I'm just sort of like, and they ask to take a picture because they know the show or whatever. I'll be like, yeah. And I'll just grab their phone, like put my arm around. And, you know, sometimes there are very attractive women that want to take a picture, and my wife is in a different state or a different city or a different country. But she's like, that's just how he is with everybody. Like, that's just like, it's not, he wasn't trying to cop a feel. He just will grab anybody of any sex and size and shape and just give him a big old sweaty hug, because I'm a sweater also. I'm a hugger and a sweater.
I'm a sweater too. Heavyweight, man. Heavyweight. And then when you work out numerous times, you work out a lot. That's why our pores are more open, because we work out more frequently.
I like that.
We live in Texas.
We're open people.
It's good for
open hearts, open pores.
Open hearts, open pores.
That's a new
I love that
shirt.
I mean, so I've been really open and honest with most of the people that I love and care about that are, unless it's like at the beginning of meeting them.
Yeah, sure.
But I always try to tell my friends and people that truly matter, like, hey, look, we can always pick up right where we left off. If I'm slow to respond.
Yeah.
Or if I don't reply, like, hit me again, because get up to the top. I've told a few of our friends recently that because, my text messages sometimes after a fight or after like Joe's show or something like that. I know, like it goes up like 999 plus or whatever in text and it's just hard to manage, or it is unmanageable. Just like, but the thing that I've realized about online that I think a lot of kids or people need to know is that I've come to realize I don't want to take advice, or I don't want to take criticism from people I wouldn't take advice from. And if they haven't earned my respect to want advice from them, then I don't need to take that person's criticism.
That's magical. Because there's that saying, this advice is worth what you paid for it, which is zero. So like but it's funny how much more likely, at least I am, and possibly you are, I'll speak for myself. I'm so much more likely to like sit with criticism random than I am with advice.
I'm my own worst critic. And so I will take criticism from the cheap seats.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
From the cheap comment section, I'll take them.
I knew I was right about what they're saying, and they can see it too.
Yeah. But I've really started learning that. I probably got that from therapy, but
I like that.
My therapist telling me, don't take criticism from people you won't take advice from. Yeah. And so if they're not close to you, if you don't truly know them, if you don't love them, but you know what? The people that have earned the right to give you advice, you might heed their criticism. Consider it. Consider it sometimes. At least look at it, right?
Man, I think that's sage wisdom. I still can feel that it's probably difficult to implement. Oh yeah. You still got to remind yourself, like, okay, like, I don't know who this person is. They can be 12 years old in their parents' basement. But if a keyboard warrior comes at you next time, just have a little
lady bearded angel, wise sage.
With a lady boner as well?
Lady boner.
Lady boner, bearded angel.
Bearded lady.
I'm going to call you at 2 a.m. and be like, Wren, dude, look what I just read. I'm like, leave me alone.
No. I wouldn't do that.
No, I know you wouldn't.
You've earned the right or respect to be able to give me advice.
That's my honor, man.
And criticism.
Ditto.
I really appreciate the man that you are. And I think from our shared or common bond or similarity and struggles, the next generation and you, I think because I've posted pictures of us together, and I see all the like fan clubs you have or people that reshare the stuff, and there's a younger audience too, and I'm sure that audience has grown up for the last 21 years, but there's before COVID, ages 10 to 24. The second highest reason for death in the United States was suicide. So the number 2 cause of death in the United States was suicide from ages 10 years old, which your kiddos are right around 10 and up to 24. And there's some experts that I think have said, they think that could overtake number 1, the top reason for suicide, because COVID, we're secluded or isolated or everything's social now. And people compare all the time to people's highlight reels and you get down. And I think we've replaced the authentic with a counterfeit. Like 100 likes on social media is better than one person in real life liking you.
I know, right? That's a more immediate dopamine hit or something.
So what do you think? I mean, what do you tell your kids? What would you tell a kid that you feel like is like Raiden? I remember you reaching out to Raiden and talking to him about Sam Winchester. And
that was Supernatural. Yeah, because I guess he had seen the show.
Yeah, he had.
I mean, what can you say other than like, hey, man, you're a champ. Like the same thing I kind of think about people who have gone through big bouts of whether it's addiction or depression or anxiety or suicidal ideation or any struggles, financial struggles, to compare that person who fights every day with the person in the mirror, that's strength, man. Like to struggle, and I broke my own rule by saying the struggle word, to deal with that kind of stuff and keep going every day. You don't get this is just euphemism or whatever. You don't get a black belt for that. You know what I mean? Like you can see somebody walking down the street who you don't need to get in a physical fight or a verbal fight or whatever. But if they've been dealing with pain every day and moving forward, then they're fighters, and they keep fighting.
Those are warriors.
Those are
overcomers.
Yeah.
Those are
and they don't get any glory from it. They don't get any belts. They don't get any prize money. They just kind of sometimes quietly go about their way and fight that next fight again the next day.
But I think there comes a time, because I've started to feel this shift. Amy on her birthday last night, we were, she read me kind of part of her gratitude journal. Right. And,
thanks.
On the list, what was the open, honest? Well, okay. So I think you said you were grateful for an open and honest relationship. I guess I'm pointing it at me. That wasn't why I was doing it. But you saying you're grateful for an open and honest relationship. And that for me too has been so empowering to not just be open and honest with Amy, but really trying to be that in every facet of my life, open and honest. And for me, I've started to feel momentum, and that's what I want. Like real momentum and overcoming that depression. I'm always going to be in the process of overcoming my addiction. Yeah. But I really feel like I've made so much progress, leaps and bounds, and I've overcome a lot of these things because I can be open. I can be honest. I can communicate, and I can share I can be vulnerable, and in that I find strength.
Yes. I mean, I agree so much. I think you had mentioned something earlier where you had said, you kind of suggested or intimated that you maybe are not completely open at first, or you don't feel like you are until someone's earned the right. And what's really weird, what I've noticed about myself, what my wife has pointed out, is that I'm kind of the opposite. Like I'm kind of an open fucking book. because if you betray that trust, then I know to be done. Like, as opposed to just being like, and this was a growing process, because at first it was like, I'm supposed to be famous. Like, here's me on Gilmore Girls, like, and I am so cool. And then finally I was like, I don't know who my real friends are, because I'm not giving an opportunity to be my friend or not. Yeah. And not that someone's a bad person if we're different, but I'd rather kind of like, who's
the question? The question I would have is, does this person like me for who I am, or is it just because of what I do? Or
that's a yeah.
And that was a challenge whenever I found out and the first time I really attempted suicide, I looked around at all my friends. I was like, none of these people are like who I am. They're just like what I do.
Yeah.
And that was like a hard pill to swallow. But now I look around and I've got a lot more friends that it's because of who I am. It's
because people know who they are. Yeah. It's because maybe possibly that you were being more open about
who you are. Yeah, for sure.
Like,
a lot more open.
Like, Wren is like this, not like we thought he was just a Viking, It's like, yeah, he's a Viking, but he's also a warm, loving human being. Oh. There's a great quote from Dave Barry, I believe, the comedian and the writer, who says, somebody who's nice to you but mean to the waiter is not a nice person.
Ooh.
And so that's kind of I do this thing. My wife always is like, why are you doing that?
Can you say that one more time?
Somebody who's nice to you but mean to the waiter is not a nice person.
Yeah.
And so
it's a person who's nice to you but rude to the waiter. It's not a nice person.
Yeah. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
I've heard another one, treat the janitor like you would the CEO.
Yeah.
Like, treat the janitor like you treat the CEO.
Yeah.
Or else you're faking it, right?
Sure. Yeah. And you should, you know what I mean? Like, you should be nice to both. Mm-hmm. They're both breathing oxygen just like you are, presumably. I don't remember what
oh shit. No, we've lost track.
David Barry has
Dave Barry.
He's got the quote about do that.
Someone who's the which one? Someone who's nice
nice to you, but not nice to the waiter.
Not nice to the waiter. Is not a nice person. Is not a nice person.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And so I think sometimes when I'm in groups of people, I kind of come in, I don't come in hot, I come in cold, if that makes any sense. Like, I try and portray myself as like the goofy idiot actor. Because then if someone's like kind to me, then I'm like, okay, they're probably nice. But if someone's like, ugh, just another actor, I'm like, okay, they're judgmental or whatever. And that's my own, I mean, I don't know if that's something to talk about or, be proud of. But I feel like I'd rather be, I don't know, man. I think I've been hurt. I was bullied as a kid.
Would you mind even sharing any of that? You okay with,
sure.
You remember one of those moments?
I do. I remember when I was probably 8 years old, maybe like 7 or 8 years old. I went to elementary school, and it was like a little bike ride away from my neighborhood. Like, it was probably a mile away by way of bike, but I wasn't allowed to leave my neighborhood. My dad, and this was 1988, 89. And I was allowed to go around our neighborhood on the bike, and that's it. Because he was scared, but it was also Xbox and pre-iPhone and iPad.
Kids played outside.
Played outside a lot. And that's all we did. I had my rollerblades. You and I got to go blading sometime.
Okay. Mine are skates.
Done up. Yeah. I'll be faster then.
I won't fall. Slow and steady. I'm like the turtle. The rhino. The albino rhino.
Fair enough.
The vanilla gorilla.
Well, second mouse gets the cheese, man. So you can be the slow one. But I went to my elementary school that I wasn't allowed to go to. And one of the guys who had been the school bully was there with a few of his friends, and he held a gun to my head, to my helmet. And I think it was a pellet gun. It was like, my recollection was it was like one of those kind of long barrel pellet gun pistols.
Wow.
But he held it to my head and to my helmet and pulled the trigger. And, this is,
scary.
Terrifying. And I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't say, I didn't feel comfortable saying it because my dad had said, like, you're not allowed to go outside the neighborhood. And so I didn't. I mean, that's the one that sticks out.
Terrifying for 8, 9-year-old to have a gun put to their head, even if it's a pellet gun.
Yeah.
And then to hold it in, you're at 8 or 9 years old, you're already suppressing.
I didn't feel like I could tell anybody.
Yeah.
And then, I don't want to belittle this, but the classic, the kids and the towels and the, after football practices kind of picking on you. And I was a small kid. I was probably 5'7", and 110 pounds as a freshman in high school. Like I was a skinny kid. I've always my body wants to be skinny. You know what I mean? Which I hate that word. Just to have whatever, personal issues about it. But I didn't really grow. I was probably like 5'7" until I was maybe a junior. And then I was maybe like 6'1". And Texans are big, man. Yeah. And, a lot of them are 6'4" at 14. And I don't want to mention any names, but there were guys on the football team that would, take cheap shots and the play was over, but they'd still upend you and the football coach would laugh and, because it was someone being kind of hardcore.
Right.
And I don't know. I think a lot of, I remember my bullies' names. I remember probably 3 or 4 of my bullies' names. I won't say them. You got to leave room for people to grow. And, what's that great saying? Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'm sure it was taught to them, And and a personal issue, like, I got 2 boys right now, 9 and 7. And there is somebody who I think is a bully in their world at their school, just from what they've kind of mentioned. And so it's, you kind of get like
do something.
You want to do something.
You're Papa Bear.
You're Papa Bear.
But you also want to let it play out and not be.
Well, yeah. I hate to say something like this because I feel like it sounds callous, but to use that word again, I want them to build callous, but I want it to be.
You want them to have tough skin, but maintain a soft heart. Because I think for me, I want to keep a soft heart, but have tough skin.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a hardened heart and soft skin.
Yeah.
It was like a peach.
Well, there's a level. It's almost like working out. Like if I went to the gym right now and tried to bench press 1,000 pounds, I'd collapse my chest.
Yeah.
But if I went and tried to bench 300, then I could maybe grow and then a week later do 305 or whatever, so if the bullying is to a degree where it's the 1,000-pound bench press and it's going to destroy somebody, then that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
But if it's something, and I hope this doesn't sound like I'm trying to justify people being bullies.
No.
But oftentimes the world's a tough place. And I don't want the first time anybody to deal with bullying, deal with it when it's at 1,000 pounds. If you can deal with it when it's 5, then you kind of get to go like, hey, you wouldn't take advice from these people. Don't take criticism and build that. That's something I struggle with. I'm a grown man. And, something I'm still like, why would somebody ultimately, I'm not like, I want to kill somebody because they were picking on me. But it's like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get like, why? Yeah. Like, it's incomprehensible.
So Fight for the Forgotten, we have a anti-bullying initiative. Mm-hmm. It's a character development program that's been in over 100 schools and 100 martial arts academies.
Amazing.
And it's called Heroes in Waiting because what the science of bullying says, 13 million students will be bullied this year at school, 13 million in the US alone.
Jesus.
It's a big number. But there's a statistic that says who's the most powerful in the situation. Is it the authority figure? Is it the teacher, the principal? Is it the bully that has the most power? Is it the one being bullied, the victim? And it's none of those. It's actually the bystander. So the people that are seeing it happen, seeing it, hearing it, witnessing it.
Yeah.
Those people oftentimes, especially in child psychology, they think they are the innocent bystander. But the bully doesn't see them as the innocent bystander. He sees them as a silent supporter. Oh. Yeah. If they're laughing, giggling, they're supporting it. Like they're an active supporter. Mm. They're part of the problem, the bully. But because
he thinks he has a team.
He thinks they're not saying stop.
Yeah.
So now it's encouragement. And now he can keep going.
Yeah. It's like tacit support.
Right. So the bystander, if they stand up and say something, one thing as simple as something that says, hey, that's not kind, there's a 87% chance it stops within the first 5 seconds. That's how much power they have. The bystander going from being a bystander to being what we call a hero in waiting, that then takes action. What's a hero? It's not someone with superhuman strength or supernatural powers.
Yeah.
It's someone that sees a need and takes action.
Yeah.
It's someone that just does the right thing.
87%.
Yeah. If they have to do it a second time, it goes up to like 91 to 93%.
Wow.
So 87% of the time, because people don't want to feel like So one of our
They're
guests,
ostracized.
right? One of our guests, RJ Mitty. Do you know RJ?
Yeah, I've met him. Yeah.
Oh, great.
He's a Texan, right?
Yeah, Texan.
Yeah, I met him at Comic-Con.
Lives down in Brownsville.
Oh, awesome.
And he said that when it came to bullying, because he has cerebral palsy, he's been very brave how he's overcame and overcome that and provided a platform for so many people to almost have to break through a limited belief, right? That people with these challenges or disabilities per se, we can do this and we can do great things and grow. And he's amazing. What he said was he would have pity on the bullies because that was the strongest thing you could do in that moment was pity them because no one wants to be pitied.
Wow.
And someone that's being the bully that needs that
someone who's trying to feel like they're tough and being strong.
Right.
I'm laughing. I'm sorry I'm laughing. I'm
good.
laughing to myself because I'm going to out myself.
Go ahead.
I met RJ Mitty in a bathroom at San Diego Comic-Con and was the dude who fucking introduced myself to another dude in the bathroom. I was like, hey, I love you. He wasn't in the middle of the facilities, but I think at the sink, I was like, dude, I love the show. And Aaron Paul is a buddy of mine. And I was like, Aaron's my friend. And he was like, thanks, man. I don't know if he remembers it. I think I got a picture of them later, or maybe whatever. But I remember kind of going because I think we had just binged the show and then we were doing Comic-Con. And
what a good show.
It's dude. So
what a brave part he played too. I mean, it's incredible. He's my favorite character.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Well, I mean, it's so hard to pick a character on there.
Yeah,
but maybe it's because I know him.
But he was. I feel like we saw each other again afterwards that night. I think we were at my buddy Zach Levi's Nerd HQ.
I met you in the bathroom.
I know, and I was like, I think it was just one of those. Hey, I love your performance, blah blah blah, and then I was sort of like, I'm the dude in the bathroom, talking to other guy. I was like, I'm gonna leave you alone. And
I always have to be careful going to. We were just in Vegas, and I have to stay out of Vegas bars because Vegas is the fight capital of the world.
Oh, of course.
And whenever you go into a bar, everyone wants to fight the fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is so idiotic.
Right.
So
the time I had someone, I've had a couple times people say, you've been recognized at the urinal, I'm sure.
Sure.
But one time this was right after you got off the Ultimate Fighter. I was at a club, the Encore XS or something like that. And some of the fighters had just, I won't name their names, but they had just been talking about, stay together. Don't go off by yourself because guys will start something with you. And if we're all together, no one's going to come fight all of us type thing.
Yeah.
And I went to the bathroom alone and the guy next to me in the urinal looked over and looks back at the wall and looks over at me. He goes, "You an effing fighter?" And I was like, yeah. He goes, "Your name's Justin Wren." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, just got off the show." And he goes, he taps me on the shoulder. We're literally midstream. And he taps me on the shoulder. We're peeing.
It wasn't me, was it?
It wasn't you. It wasn't
just double checking.
If it was, it would have gotten a lady boner. Bearded lady boner. But I looked at him. He goes, I was a wrestler. And I'm like, okay, great, man. Me too. He goes, I was a state champ. I'm like, cool, man. I was too. And national champ and whatever. But
he wasn't picking a fight, right? He was just kind of.
Well, he was just saying that. But whenever we went to the bathroom, he goes, I could take you down. And I was like, okay, man.
Maybe once.
I bet you could. And I'm fine with it. And he goes, no, we could fight. All of a sudden, this anger, sometimes it comes over people. And he ended up shooting in on my legs. I'm drying off my hand. I throw away I wash my hands. And anyways, he shoots in on my legs, drives me against the wall. He wasn't a little guy, and he actually was a wrestler and
he shot
at least a state champion or something.
Yeah.
At least that's what he said. So he shoots for a double leg, drives my back up almost against the cage. But what do wrestlers always do? They always lift their head up to get the takedown on a double leg.
Guillotine.
So I had a guillotine right there. Ended up choking him. I mean, it sounds bad, but I don't know what he attacked me. I choked him unconscious. He fell with his, arms underneath him. And I just stepped over, went out there, and I went back to the guys and like, y'all just told me don't do this. That we should stay together. So I just tapped him. I'm like, I'm out of here, guys. I'm out.
Man, I've done some mixed martial arts training, largely in my capacity as an actor, doing but I've done classes and training and this and that. And, right now I'm lighter because of COVID, but I'm usually around 210, 215. I'm a reasonably fit guy. And I've rolled with guys who are 160 pounds or sparred with guys who are 170 pounds. And after a round, I'm like, I'm never going to start a fight with anybody because I got 50 pounds on this guy and he's rocking me and I can't even hit him with a single shot in 3 minutes. Like not like I don't know why anybody on the planet would try and fight a professional fighter.
Yeah.
I always say like, I know enough to never get beat up because I don't pick fights. And so the people who know how to fight also don't pick fights. So I'm clean. However, this dude in the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, he was intoxicated, but I think, it's probably like acting, right? You get people that say, "Oh, I'm going to start acting. I'll be there with you, next week or in a few months."
Sometimes they're right, man. Like,
okay,
yeah.
In MMA, they'll like whenever you go to a convention or something like that, you're signing an autograph or something. He's like, "I'll see you in the UFC in about 4 months." I'm like, "Oh wow, when do you train?"
Yeah.
And I'm thinking he's got a fight lined up.
I think the difference.
I haven't yet, but
I think the difference that occurs to me is in the fight world, it must seem like they're challenging you, whereas like in the acting world, it's like, hey, I can't wait to work together. As opposed to like, because somebody came up and was like, dude, I'm going to go see you at 10th Planet and let's roll. Yeah. That's like, cool, man. Let's learn some shit. As opposed to like, hey, me and you were going to meet. Like, it's sort of like, okay, like where are the cameras? Like, are we building up to a fight? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, sometimes when they say they're going to do it, I'm like, that's awesome.
Great.
But then whenever it's like they've never trained, but they're expecting to be there in a year.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, there's a lot of work to this. Speaking of that, I guess next week you guys start filming your second season.
Mm-hmm. We start Walker season 2.
So I guess I'll come be on episode 2.
Brother, please. You can be on episode everything as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Hey, if you ever need someone,
I know we talked about it.
Yeah. I really am there, but I was making a joke on I'll see you next week in the UFC.
Oh yeah, I got it. Bring it, Wren. We start next Wednesday, and there's a lot up in the air right now with different COVID protocols and mandates coming in. And so it's going to be an interesting season. And we remained mostly safe last year. We had a few days that we had to take because of positive tests. But, the way the rules are, we don't go by the state or the federal rules. We go by the rules of, the studio and the network that are paying money for us to play pretend.
Yeah.
And so their rules are,
never heard that.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So they speak, we listen. But right now I'm okay because I've already been vaccinated and had a confirmed case and I'm 2.5 weeks out or whatever.
So you got a lot of antibodies.
I do. I feel invincible. You want to go? UFC next week?
I'm out of your weight class now.
I think so. So like if another actor or actress or one of the Zone A crew members gets COVID, we might have to shut down for how many days, Yeah. And then last year, I don't know if you were here during Snowpocalypse. And
yes, I was.
Yeah. So
we got trapped together, which was great. I was loving being trapped in there.
It was great.
Yeah.
Well, we had heat, so it was all right.
We were in between 3 hospitals. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah. We live like,
there's like
North Lamar area where there's like Seton and something else.
My brother's a surgeon at Seton.
And a private. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have
2 surgeons that are.
I have my brother's an orthopedic surgeon. My cousin's a trauma doctor in North Austin.
Yeah.
But we ended up, so it was right kind of, I think it was February, March. And a lot of the cast members who were here shooting Walker were in rental units or apartments or hotels, and they lost power. We had power. So we ended up having 14 people and 5 dogs at our house for Snowpocalypse. And at one point in time, there's snow everywhere and our driveway kind of has a decline to it. And so Genevieve got her snowboard and put it on and like snowboarded just
that's awesome.
One run. I mean, she's going 0.5 mile an hour, but she just to do it. Cause otherwise, we've had that house for 10 years almost. And
we had our roller skates on and
we did.
You should have called me, man. I would have brought my blades.
Yeah. Next time. We'll be prepared.
Yeah.
I this is going to sound really random, but I have a couple of. I'm going to do this. Do you remember meeting my mom? We were at a restaurant. You had we FaceTime.
Yeah, it was my dad's 70th birthday.
Yeah,
and you were at a restaurant. Yeah, I remember meeting her on the phone. Yeah.
That was awesome. But Amy and I were talking, and my mom, she's so sweet. She's so incredible. Just her text messaging is a little short where she'll be like, I'll get really excited about something, send her something like, I love you so much, Mom, exclamation points. She's literally in my phone as, watch this. You can shout out to my mom. What is her name?
Best mom ever.
Best mom ever.
She is rad.
She really is the best, but it's just funny whenever it comes to text conversations. Say, love you so much, exclamation points. And she'll go, love you too, period.
Oh my God.
Or I'll tell her something. And then all of a sudden she goes, I'm like talking all these plans or telling her what I'm up to. And then her response is, okay, period.
Dude, that is the exact opposite of my mom. Like my mom, it's like, hey, I think she wanted the kids. The San Antonio Zoo is awesome. And she wanted to see our kids like 2 weeks ago when we got COVID. And so she texted like, hey, can y'all come down? Like we're going to be around and this and that. And I was like, well, we all just test positive. So we're quarantining. And her next response was like, oh no, is everybody okay? How are you doing? Which test did you take? Do you know which strain it is? How are the kids? Are they going to go to school? Like it's 17 questions. And you're like, what do I do? Yes, no, good. 8:30 tomorrow.
At least we have a reply now.
She just, I know. Yeah. But still my mom is the opposite. My dad sounds like your mom. It's kind of funny because my mom will, if it's like, hey mom, we're rolling. I'll call her back. She's like, okay, well, I love you and have a good take. It's like, I love you too. I love you. Okay, well, just and don't forget that it's it's your brother's birthday tomorrow. It's like, yeah, I got it, mom. We're literally rolling. Okay, well, just thinking about you. Like, damn it. Where my dad, if you're on the phone with my dad, you'll be like, yeah, talking, shooting the shit. And then you'll be like, yeah, what was that? He's like, well, it sounds like they're ready for you. Bye. And you're like,
doesn't even give you a chance to say bye.
He's he's gone. He does the same with my wife and everybody. So
no, I get that. My mom's been so incredible to me. She's been the most positive, most consistent positive force.
That's amazing.
In my life. She was a badass. She won multiple tennis championships,
really?
State championships.
Jesus.
And then she was a 2-time national champion in barrel racing. So me becoming a national champion and national champion, she would, like I would get this thumb I dislocated 13 times my senior year of wrestling. And
in 1 year,
in 1 year, yeah, the senior year of wrestling, the year I won nationals. And so they were thinking about medically DQing me, but I would pop my thumb out and I'd come back to my dad, he was a photographer, like real creative type. And he'd come back and go, do you need to go to the ER? My mom was like, tape it up and get your ass back out there. Like, do you want to win this? Go get it. And, but she do it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, she gets excited about competitions. Whenever we talked on the phone, I was telling her that I was really excited you had helped us like raise awareness for Raiden and fight for the Forgotten. And she was excited about it and telling her about you. And then whenever you called and we got off the phone, she was like, oh, who was that again? Then she got on Google. She was like, oh, he's cute. So
did you send her to your Reddit site?
Not yet. I'm thinking this. She's had 2 pictures beside her bed since my parents got a divorce. Anyways, but it's been Robert Redford.
She's got her own subreddit.
Yeah, Robert Redford. And who's the guy that played James Bond? One of them. That's
Pierce Brosnan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, those are some beautiful dudes.
She told me she would replace one of them. I think it was Pierce with your photo.
Get at it. Oh man, I'm a big Pierce fan.
I'm just doing this for her. Do you think it would be this one of you shirtless?
So that's actually me. That one's not me.
This one's not you?
No, it's not.
Oh, that one's not you.
No, that one's not. I know exactly.
That one's you.
Yeah.
Maybe this one. Well, that's kind of old.
It's a little old. Yeah, that one's me.
Kissing a parrot.
That one's here.
What kind of bird is that?
It's a fake bird. So that was during Friday the 13th. We shot it here in Austin in 2008, and my character wore like we talked about sweating. My character, like we did a fitting in Los Angeles where it's 65 degrees. And so I was wearing like a light gray shirt. And so if we did a take, I would have sweat stains. And so I would just have to take my shirt off and hand it and they would blow dry it or give me another one. And so I was just basically shirtless every time they called cut. They'd be like, cut, Padalecki, your shirt stains are showing. I'm like, fine. And I hand it off. And then I would just wait there until they were like changing. And so that was just during one of those, we were shooting at a place out in Wimberley, part of the movie. And there was like a silly bird and I was
holding that bird,
being an idiot.
Have you seen this meme yet?
I haven't.
There's when y'all were young. How old were you here? You and Jensen.
That was the pilot, so that would have been February of 2005. It was 16 years ago.
16 years ago.
Yeah.
So how old are you? About
22.
Last season. What's that?
I don't know.
So what I thought was fun was right beside it was sugar babies and then sugar daddies or sugar daddy like the candy. Anyways, I'll find a photo or maybe she'll just pick one out.
Is that from Reddit? Is that?
Yeah, that's the lady boners. Okay. Only pictures I've ever saved.
Sugar baby, sugar daddy is pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll text that to you. Yeah. I'll text that to you after we're done.
Please do.
Man, I'm so grateful for the man that you are. You've been so gracious with your time.
Man, ditto.
But I want to tell you that the way that you've truly been, whether it's, you see something like we had that hashtag stand with Raiden, you guys responded because he was a fan of the show. You sent a video to him, but you didn't just do that. That is a one-time moment thing, but you have checked in with him. You sent me a video and you wanted to FaceTime with him on his birthday. Me and my mom, you've started Always Keep Fighting.
Yeah.
Or Keep Fighting Always.
Always Keep Fighting.
Always Keep Fighting. Always Keep Fighting. I'm just really grateful for the man you are. You just shared very vulnerably here. And I think that is a way to overcome, is to be open.
Yeah.
The only way.
Yeah. No one can read your mind, right? So if you don't tell them what you're going through, no one's going to know how to help you with what you're going through, and vice versa.
So, I mean, I think this like a call to action for some people is like, if you're struggling right now, open up, share, be vocal with a family member, a friend, a therapist, a professional.
Yeah. And I say, be proud of how many fights you've won, because you've fought every day and you're still here. Yeah. So don't be jealous or feel weak that somebody else isn't going through that. Feel pride and confidence in the fact that you have been in fights for however many days, weeks, months, years, and you're still going. Like you got it, man. You got it.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something. I'll try to share this quickly because I really am grateful for your time. So you just saying that, I felt like such a failure whenever I relapsed again after. So the cycle of addiction is you kind of got it, and then all of a sudden you have that first use. Doctors say it's an allergy, an actual chemical thing that goes off in your body.
Oh, wow.
It's not just you're undisciplined or that you are a sack of shit that you use. There's this reaction that your body, your mind says, it prioritizes it for survival. It literally is like the hunter-gatherer mind. When you find this substance, that one or sometimes any that changes the way you feel, it's literally that dopamine. Brain science says for the brain of an addict, it now prioritizes as the number one thing for survival. People, that comes out and exacerbate, how do you say that word? Yeah, in different ways. Some people can handle it until 5 p.m. Yeah. Other people, they start missing things that you never would want to miss or screw up or lose a job or do these certain actions. But anyways, when I ended up in Mexico, because I was so ashamed, I ran. And instead of fight, it was flight, and I ran. And my board of directors for Fight for the Forgotten said, you are going to go get help, or we have to protect the organization. But we want you to hear this. We are protecting you so that you can come back here, so that you can lead well, so that you can do all these things. So you
can put the oxygen mask on yourself.
And actually, that's actually what Ryan Llewellyn and Jeffrey Higgs, the doctor, that are on my board, the chairman and the vice presidents, they were using that terminology. Put the oxygen mask on yourself, brother. You've been doing it for others. Mm-hmm. You got to do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you're going to do this. We're suggesting you to do it. But in that moment, I felt exposed, and I felt, and I just had a suicide attempt, and I just was like, I did the suicide attempt right after that because I wasn't in my right mind. Right. Yeah. I thought I fucked it all up. I'm never coming back from this. I'm going to lose everything. Everyone's going to know I never should have been able to lead this anyways and help these people anyways. And so anyways, I think that what you're saying there, was the thing that changed everything for me. Whenever I saw it as not like a defeat, but an opportunity, and it was a defeat, right? But but it also led that downfall led to the comeback or me being able to rise up from it or find a way to overcome. I'd gone to get coaching, the best coaching in the world in so many different sports, from wrestling, Olympic gold medalist, boxing, Hall of Famers, UFC Hall of Famers, like jiu-jitsu, the best of all time. But I had never gone and gotten coaching one time in 15 years of struggling with addiction. I never went to an AA meeting once. It wasn't until I was forced to go to an inpatient place. I ended up doing 90 days because I needed that. But I actually set my mind on 90. They presented 30, 45, 60, 90.
Oh, wow.
And I chose 90 because once I had that will to do it, it was like, all right, if I'm doing it, I got to be all in. Just present, got to go all in. So anyways, I don't know how you just jogged that memory for me where it's like, oh, wow, more people will come to support you if you do share and open. If they know you need help, they can't help without knowing it. And then how can they help? Those are some of the things. This is what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
This is kind of the help that I need. And I'm just, do you have any support that you can show me or suggestions you have?
Some way out of what's going on in my head. And I hope that you and I and whoever else can, like I mentioned, it seems silly. It seems like semantics to not say struggle. And I get that sometimes it is a struggle, but just to kind of reword it, I wonder if we can. It's
called a reframe.
Yeah, reframe it. Yeah. It works for me. It's a silly tool, trick, whatever, but it works for me, But I wonder if we can also change like defeat to a micro trauma, like same as working out. Like I wasn't able to run 5 miles. I ran 4.8 and I'm going to do it again next week. And maybe I'll go cause you think about working out or doing jujitsu belts or doing it's making you better. You get a 50 on a test, but then you see the incorrect answers. You didn't fail that test. You had a micro trauma because next time it's going to be 60. Yeah. And then you're going to remember another test and it's going to to build from it as opposed to just perspective, right? Yeah. Like it helps me and it doesn't help everybody, like each to their own, but trying to reframe and rephrase those things where it's like, I didn't get defeated. I had a micro tear. I failed on the 3rd rep of squats or deadlifts or something. But in a month, I'm going to get 5 reps, so something to build from, I suppose, something that beats you down.
That's so good. I'm really hard on myself when I take a loss. Yeah. And it's, you just helped me reframe because I said, this was one of my biggest defeats, but actually it was one of the biggest opportunities. One of the things John Kavanaugh says and wrote a book about, John Kavanaugh, who's Conor McGregor's coach. Yeah. And I'm Team Poirier all the way now, but Lafayette kid. Yeah, he's awesome. But I really respected Conor's championing of how he would champion the words of his coach. It's not win or lose, it's win or learn. Yeah. And so that reframe to say, oh, in my head, it's not, I didn't lose, I learned. And that's so true. Like it wasn't the biggest defeat. Like that was my biggest learning lesson. Yeah. And,
that was like Edison, right? About the light bulb. He said, this is again,
it was like something like,
I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb. Wow. Something to that effect.
Yeah. It is. That's incredible.
I love it.
I love that. Yeah. I love you, man.
I love you back, brother.
I'm really grateful.
Yeah. I'm ditto. Yeah.
This was awesome. I think it's going to help someone.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it's all
help me. So,
help me.
Yeah.
Help me. Help 2 people already.
There you go.
So
2 down.
Yeah. I'm grateful for you. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch, man.
Yeah. We'll have to go on a double date sometime.
Love to.
Yeah.
Love to. Yeah.
Let's do this.
We'll be here. We'll be around. Okay. We'll be playing pretend.
We're here.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Wow. Thank you for tuning in. Was that fun?
It was a blast. That guy's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
I love him.
He came in a hug machine, just coming in and tackling people with hugs here at Hot Pie. Me, you, Matthew. Welcome to the team, Matthew, to Fight for the Forgotten. He's in the studio here today. And that was just a really great episode. But I'm just grateful for how real, raw, vulnerable he was. He's a guy that's driven by purpose. He's supported us, Fight for the Forgotten, Raiden. He had started always keep fighting to help people with depression, addiction, suicide.
And he's kept moving forward with that. We didn't even talk about his shirt, which is his new company that he co-founded, which is Mantra Labs.
Yeah.
And it's gomantralabs.com if you want to go check it out. But basically, they're creating supplements that give back. And that was even when I was like, oh man, congratulations. This is really cool when he was leaving. And he was like, we give back, and he made sure to mention that. And what they say on their website, it says force for good. We can't fix what we don't talk about.
Wow.
And every mental purchase you make supports mental health organizations and promotes mental fitness for everyone. And yeah, that's exactly what he was talking about, like being vocal about it and not being scared to share your story because you never know who it's going to impact. And he's like really walking the walk.
Yeah. Well, I love that he started a company like that. I'm trying my first cup in the Walker, Texas Ranger mug of Rise from Go Mantra Labs. So thank you for that. Well, that reminds me, I mean, this is for this podcast. We are donating back to Fight for the Forgotten. Any sponsor of this show, whether they actually give to Fight for the Forgotten or not, we will be giving.
And Hot Pie is too.
Yeah, and Hot Pie too.
Mm-hmm.
So any sponsorship dollar we get, a percentage of that is going back to Fight for the Forgotten. And I love that well, like on it, I mean, bringing up Go Mantra Labs, they're giving back to that, and On It has decided, which he started. We both started with Alpha Brain right before the show. And they're going to be giving back to Fight for the Forgotten in a big way. Like they let me talk about the Fight Club, but also on their website, on onit.com, site-wide to every single customer, whether they're found through this podcast or not, they're going to be matching dollar for dollar any donation that's given to Fight for the Forgotten. So I love that because that's a lot of work that the company has chosen to do to get behind Fight for the Forgotten, to get behind Overcome. But they believe in it. It's a true
testament to you and Fight for the Forgotten. Like it just blows my socks off. It's crazy. So it's not crazy. It's believable. It's wonderful. It's like, yes.
I can believe it. Remember how we started saying that? And so I can't believe it.
On my podcast. Yes.
I can believe it.
Watch what you say.
I can believe that On It is that great of a company that they're going to be giving back and matching. So if someone goes to onit.com and they get one of the products and they donate there, you can use a discount code OVERCOME and you'll get a discount. But if you decide to give to Fight for the Forgotten on that site, $5, $10, they'll become $10, $20. If you give $100, it becomes $200. They're matching everything, which is incredible. I love companies like that, like how we got to start with the honey in Hickory Tree Farms. And On It. I mean, giving back in Jared's company too, giving back to mental health. That's what this is about. This is what this life is about, is giving back.
And you know what? I was thinking when y'all were talking about it, we've been talking about it. I talk about it on my podcast. I've had some money things going on lately. And one day I was just like, I wanted to give and I didn't know what I could give. And I just sat there and I was like, you know what? I can give my prayers and my good thoughts. And I just sat there and like literally just like thought good thoughts and like radiated good stuff to everyone I could think of. And
you did it by name? You started singing, started thinking about people by name?
Yeah.
That's great.
And, or even if you don't have names, I think that, even if you just don't know what you can give, you can even just give your energy. Like, I think that anything counts.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be money. It can be time. It can be presence, and it could be just
call or whatever.
Or text, or even meditating on it, like you said, because sometimes people, you did a meditation this Wednesday.
Well, when this comes out, it'll be
right.
Month ago, but
You're right. But
let's see, mid-August, late August.
But you did a meditation that I thought about, and you said, think about someone that how did you say that? It kind of gets under your skin.
It was my Green Lights meditation. It was on August 25th, and I'm at Real Amy Edwards if you want to check it out. It's on my IGTV. And I phrased it, someone that's tough to love. I said, think it's someone that's easy to love, that you love. And then I said, think of someone that's tough to love. Yeah.
And send them love.
Send them love. I think that
it was challenging, but it was a powerful exercise to me because someone came up and
I knew exactly who you thought of too.
You thought of it too. Funny anyways, I could give it away pointing at my shirt. I won't do that. It doesn't have anything to do with either one of these guys. But because I love these guys, especially Joe.
Oh, your Chappelle and Rogan shirt.
Yeah, my Chappelle
people
and
who are
Rogan
just
shirt,
listening,
yeah.
he's wearing a Chappelle and Rogan
I
shirt.
am.
Today.
Somehow this guy has something to do with the shirt, but it's not Dave Chappelle. It's not Joe Rogan. I love those guys. Yes, cut it out. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Send love to these great companies. Send love to this podcast. You can do that by liking, sharing, rating, reviewing, and subscribing. And for those people on YouTube, we're trying to add something very special at the end of this. Jared and I talked about Raiden, and we're doing a docuseries called Overcomer. It's going to be called Overcomer, and it's a 6 to 8 part docuseries. But where it all started was with Raiden. Actually started with the Pygmy people, but then we wanted to connect the dots to bullying and how I grew up getting bullied. The Pygmy people are the most bullied people in the world. We were able to help Raiden, someone that was bullied in the most atrocious of ways. It was absolutely devastating, heartbreaking. I'm going to add one of the 3-part episodes that was from my Instagram to the end of this episode on YouTube. And we'll probably add in another few of those as well. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really, really deeply appreciate your time.
What's up, Raiden? How are you, buddy? If you're watching this, it means you are in Los Angeles. Yeah. Welcome. This is the house we was getting. How do you think? Awesome. Got a lot of surprises planned for you. Closer. And I just want to let you know what an honor it's been for me to get to plan some of this. I said I wasn't going to cry, but that means a lot. You're a real honor to get to meet Justin, and I've got a lot of good friends here, and yeah, this week's going to be good. It's going to get lots of surprises for you. So the first one I got for you, I had made. It's this really cool flag. It says, so it can go in your house. It's your own flag. And I think it says, you got the whole country wrapped around you right now in their arms. And then we have this little video where a bunch of friends of ours who saw your story wanted to say a few words.
Raiden. My name is Kyle Jacobs. I'm a songwriter here in Nashville, and I've written songs for Garth Brooks and Tim McGraw and a whole bunch of others, but I wanted to write a song for you. Your story inspired me, and here it goes, just like this. You're not alone. We're right here.
I'm here to tell you, man, that the things that you get bullied for are also the things that are the keys to your success. You, sir, are a champion.
Hey, Raiden, Jensen here, Misha. Jensen, Misha. From all of us here at Supernatural, we just want to say we stand with you. Keep your head up.
I want to let you know that when I'm filming this week, I'm going to be thinking about you, because Sam Winchester is tough and courageous, but he ain't got nothing on Raiden.
We stand with Raiden. We're all here for you. We're on your side. Love you, and God bless you.
The greatest people in the world go through some of the most challenging times. We're here for you, we support you, and we are inspired by you.
Hey Raiden, it's Catherine Winnick from Vikings. I play a warrior on TV. You are also a warrior. And I stand by you and send you lots of love all the way from Nashville.
So don't give up, bud. I'm gonna say I'm proud of you. Life is long, man, and you're gonna win.
What's up, Raiden? It's the phenomenal AJ Styles. Look, pal, I stand with you. I hate bullying. I hate it. Just know, the OC stands with you.
I stand with you, Raiden, against bullying.
I stand with you. I stand with Raiden.
Machete's got your back.
You should be really proud of yourself today. Everyone who knows you and loves you feels the same.
You, Raiden, are a special kid.
And in life, the weak always pick on the strong. Yeah, the weak. Doing what those children did to you is weak.
Is not right, and it will not be tolerated.
You have support and love from a lot of people.
From one bullying victim to another, I want to encourage you to not give up, because you are a beautiful person inside and out.
The whole world's standing with you, man, including me. I stand with Raiden.
I love you, and we all stand with you, brother.
I stand with you, Raiden.
You got a lot of people in your corner, buddy.
So thank you for being strong.
You got somebody out here who's rooting for you.
We're proud of you, man. Keep pushing forward. You're the real fighter. Let's go. Let's get through this.
My name's Tom Cavanaugh. I play the Reverse Flash on a television show called The Flash. You know what makes a superhero, right? Somebody who sees the good, where at first there may not appear to be any. Wishing you good things, man.
Just keep being you, man. Just push through. Be the strong person that you seem to be.
And we stand with Wren.
Close your eyes and feel us praying. We ain't playing. We stand with Wren. Praying for you, buddy.
Braden, so how does that, those people saying those words, what does that mean to you?
How do you feel inside right now?
Awesome.
2 and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You're not alone. We're right here. And you're strong enough to face all your fears.
Hey, don't forget to send your Overcome stories to overcomepodcast@gmail.com. And also, rate, review, subscribe, and follow Overcome with Justin Wren.